Layla panicked. Why have I never heard about wolves appearing by the lake before? If this was a wolf area, someone would have told me, like the carriage driver or the escorting knights. Oh, we shouldn't have come here. As Layla faced the approaching wolf, she quickly called out to Sion. Sion calmly replied, I know. He warned, don't provoke it unnecessarily. Her voice trembled. But, don't worry, stay calm. We're in grave danger. But Sion, huh? The carriage isn't that far away. It suddenly dawned on her, the carriage isn't far, so why hasn't Lost Catwick shown up yet? Come to think of it, the carriage is out of sight now. Maybe Tommy was behind all this. Yes, it must be Tommy. He must have bribed the carriage driver or the escorting knights. He's just that kind of person. And lately, Tommy is the only one who would do something like this. And yes, I should have just put up with it. Without power, there's no way to protect anything. Can I even escape? But where would I go now? The carriage is gone, and should I hide in the forest where there are wolves? But what if there are other wolves? No. First of all, if I turn my back here, will I even survive? I don't want to die. Starting over from scratch is one thing, but nothing about this is okay right now. Sion tapped her on the shoulder. Hey, stay right here. With that, he stepped in front of the wolf, his hands clenching into fists. He immediately landed a thunderous punch that made the wolf's face twist. Sion threatened, stay down. Meanwhile, Layla thought in astonishment, what is happening? Is Sion fighting a wolf? Am I seeing things? It's real. Sion is fighting the wolf. It took another punch and let out 7 painful yelps. Layla's eyes widened. This is insane. The wolf was retreating. Suddenly, it shot a glare at Layla, sending shivers down her spine. Sion stepped back to shield Layla, saying, I'm not dead yet. Watching the wolf turn and leave, she trembled and whispered to herself, it's gone. I'm alive. I'm not dead. I still can't believe it. Suddenly, Sion looked at her and asked, Layla Hindaga, are you hurt? She was startled that he called out to her. She pointed to herself. Me? You're asking if I'm hurt? They were both silent for a moment. I should get up first. But, is he actually worried about me? Layla slowly got to her feet. She had barely stood up when her body started to tremble. I guess I was too tense. My legs feel like jelly. Layla carefully brushed the dirt off herself and looked up at Sion. What's with that look? Is he mad at me for being too slow? Probably not, right? Sion just kept staring at her with a serious expression. Oh, maybe it's because I didn't answer him? With that thought, she smiled brightly and said, Sion, I'm not hurt, I'm okay. Layla suddenly panicked. But Sion, your wrist. Sion looked down at his swollen wrist. It's broken. It's no big deal. Layla grew even more frantic. How can you say it's not a big deal? Tsk. It's just a scratch. He calmly tapped his hand on the wound as if he felt no pain at all. She was stunned by Sion's stoic demeanor as he said, let's go. We need to find the carriage first. If it's not here, then we'll look somewhere else. He turned to leave, but she quickly ran after him. Wait a minute. We have to take care of your wrist first. What should we do? First find a branch to make a splint, then use my dress to wrap it. Layla looked around anxiously, and Sion, seeing her continued worry, turned back and said, the bone will heal on its own. Let's just go back first and deal with it later. Layla was surprised by his casual attitude about his own injury. Before she could finish, he cut her off. Moving is the priority right now. What if another wolf shows up, and we get killed? I can't fight back in this condition. Sion casually shook his injured wrist. Layla cried out in alarm. Don't shake it like that. It's already swelling up. This is all my fault. She silently cursed herself. He only got hurt because of me. Sion suddenly said, don't go looking for branches and don't rip your dress. Just follow me. Okay, but how did you know? Are you a mind reader or something? The first aid for a broken bone is pretty obvious. The two of them walked around, searching for the carriage. Layla scanned their surroundings, but there were no signs the carriage had been near the lake. Did they just leave? With the whole carriage? Sion stopped and turned to look at Layla. Layla cried out, over there? She squinted, trying to see more clearly. I see it. Up ahead, the guard and the coachman were standing there waiting for them. The coachman looked panicked when he saw her. Is that you, Lady Layla? Sion and Layla stood still, staring at the two of them. Lot walked over nervously. Were you looking for me? I was going to go back for the picnic basket, but I suddenly got a stomachache. Layla yelled angrily. The carriage! Why did you move the carriage all the way over here? Lot awkwardly averted his gaze, because this is a new area. It wouldn't be appropriate for such matters, so I moved it here. And that's when you arrived. Her expression darkened, and she frowned. I knew it. This was Tommy's idea. A few days ago, I saw you with Tommy. Have you two always been that close? What? I'm certain I saw you sneaking around behind the warehouse. No. We're not that close. We just happened to run into each other, that's all. I see. Let's just go home. Aren't you going to take another stroll? She pulled Sion towards the carriage. My feet hurt. Understood. I will escort you back to the mansion safely. She said nonchalantly, you'd better. After that, they all got into the carriage and headed back. In the carriage, Layla mentally stuck out her tongue, feeling smug. You idiot. I was just bluffing to test you. The warehouse is always crowded. You're so dead now. It was already dark by the time they returned to the Hindaga mansion. In the study of Marquis Hindaga, he was sitting at his desk when a sudden knock echoed at the door. It was Layla, standing on the other side. He called out from inside. Come in. She entered cautiously. It's Layla, father. I have something I need to discuss with you. Are you free, father? For a moment. Yes, thank you, Father. I really should have avoided private conversations like this with him as much as possible. But this time is different. I have to show him that I won't just let this slide. Don't tremble. You can do this. With that thought, she dropped to her knees, seeing her do this. He frowned in surprise. What is the meaning of this? Please punish those who plotted to murder me. Murder? He sounded utterly stunned by her words. Yes, there are 3 people who tried to murder me. Tommy Hindaga, the guard, and the coachman were all part of it. I'm certain that Tommy and Lotsgatwick met in secret, and looking at the carriage driver's expression, he's definitely in on it. If the order came from Father, finding proof won't be difficult. The problem is whether he'll believe me or not. He stroked his chin in thought, then looked up at the knight standing beside him. Listen, bring them here. The knight immediately obeyed. Yes, sir. Layla celebrated silently. Great, it worked. Layla smiled with satisfaction, having achieved her goal. A moment later, back in that same study, blood was splattered all over the room. Tommy trembled before his father. I heard you called for me, Father. He crossed his arms and looked at Tommy, who was standing there shaking. What have you done, Tommy Hindaga? I heard you tried to kill Layla? He trembled as he looked at the 2 corpses lying at his feet, rendered speechless. I. He screamed in terror. I don't know anything, Father. These men mentioned your name. They even said you were the one who provided the scent to attract the wolves. Layla stood beside her father, pleased with the current situation. It's no use. You won't escape so easily, Tommy. He clenched his fist in anger. Pay for what you've done, Tommy. Pardon me, my Lord Marquis, someone suddenly interrupted. I am Angela, Sir Tommy's personal attendant. Although I am just a servant, I am nevertheless in Sir Tommy's service. So may I say a few words? The Marquis turned to look at her. Go on, speak. Thank you, my lord. First, the testimony that young Master Tommy tried to harm Lady Layla is a misunderstanding. However, it is true that he was displeased with the young lady's slave, so he asked these 2 scoundrels to rough up the slave a little. Isn't that right, young master? Startled, Tommy exclaimed. Yes, that's right, Father. She's trying to play the innocent. Do you feel any remorse? I cannot understand it, but sometimes subordinates have ill intentions toward those they serve. Perhaps these 2 men acted as they did because of such emotions. Furthermore, the young master only just turned 11 this past spring. He is far too young to execute such a malicious plot to harm his own sister. Ah. She gently pushed Tommy into a bow. I earnestly beg you to consider this, my lord. After hearing that, he thought for a moment and then asked Tommy, do you feel any remorse? Huh? Remorse for what? No way, for Layla's slave. Angela pressed down hard on Tommy's shoulder, his lordship. Truly regrets his actions. As she spoke, she shot Tommy a warning look. In truth, ever since the carriage left this morning, he has been filled with regret, haven't you, master? Yes, that's right. I'm very sorry, Layla. She frowned, smirking at their little act. She thought to herself that the maid seemed quite skilled at handling situations like this. The Marquis sighed and said, I have decided that Tommy Hindaga will be confined to his room for 3 days. After that, he will be forbidden from leaving the estate for 1 week. Tommy breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this. Thank heavens, and this is nothing to be proud of, so do not let this happen ever again. Do you understand, Tommy Hindaga? Yes, Father. Now, all of you, get out. Layla was disappointed but still obeyed his command. Yes, Father. Layla walked out of the room, sighing in frustration. You got lucky, Tommy. You only got out of that in one piece thanks to that maid of yours. And thanks to you, I received a punishment for my power, though it's not like that really matters. But preventing any future conflict between us is what's necessary, since this is an order from Father. So Tommy won't dare to do it again. Layla gave a triumphant smile, when suddenly Tommy shouted, Hey, don't you think you've won this? Listening to his nonsense was giving her a headache, so frustrating. Are you ignoring me? You didn't win, Layla Hindenburg. She ignored him and ran off, while he angrily yelled after her, just as the maid had said he would. Tommy is only 11 years old. If I just pretend to be scared and defeated, maybe that brat will feel satisfied, and gradually lose interest in tormenting me. But now Saul's wrist is broken, so I don't want to back down to him. She was angry on Saul's behalf, recalling Dr. Elvin's words, It's broken, but it's a clean break. With a body like his, it will heal quickly. He said it so casually, but just because he said that doesn't mean a broken bone. Is nothing at all. Layla leaned her head against the door, feeling helpless. It could take several weeks to heal. Sean, I'm here. She gently cracked open Sean's door. He was already asleep, and it would be strange if he wasn't tired after everything that happened. On top of that, he was injured too. Come to think of it, this is the second time I've seen Sean sleeping so soundly. In this room, what did I do back then? I brought food and placed it beside him. Then I found the crumpled paper Sean had thrown away, and that drawer too. It seemed like he didn't want anyone to look inside it. What was in that drawer? I'm still so curious. I don't want to do anything to displease him. I was so jumpy back then, it was terrifying. Layla pulled a chair closer to the bed. She rested her chin in her hands, watching him intently. Back then I was so sure the reason I died was because of Sauron. I believed that if it wasn't for Sauron, I wouldn't have died, as long as I didn't go against Father's orders. But I'm still so weak and useless, I could still die from someone else's smallest ill intention. Besides, dying and coming back to life over and over is pointless. because the same result is waiting for me on the day I have to face that wolf. Why did I feel so relieved being protected by the back of a 10-year-old boy? Why did the image of the adult Sion overlap with him like that? How was I suddenly pulled out of my despair? Later, at 15, when they heard that Sion had sealed the evil god, did everyone else feel this way too? Thinking of the hero who saved the world and their lives, did they also feel that sense of relief? From their protector? I'm so jealous of that, I wish I could feel that too. I could too, if only I wasn't a Hindenburg, she thought, frustrated as tears welled up in her eyes. Then I could be like everyone else. I could have. Layla! Suddenly, a voice pulled her from her train of thought. She looked at Sion, surprised. What? Did he just say my name? Realizing what he'd done, Sion quickly covered his mouth. He reverted to his usual self and turned to look at her, his expression unchanged, while she just stared at him, frozen. What? Are you asking why I'm in your room? I came to check if you were okay. I'm fine. Really. You don't hurt anywhere? You're not uncomfortable at all? Did Elvin give you enough painkillers? He did. That's a relief. If you feel any pain, you have to tell me, okay? I'll ask Elvin to prescribe more medicine, saying, thank you for saving me. He stared at her blankly. Don't get the wrong idea. I didn't save you. He quickly composed himself and immediately turned away. Layla was still smiling brightly. I understand. You fought the wolf because you wanted to survive, and I just happened to be there with you. Hearing her say that, his expression turned incredibly sour. He replied indifferently, yeah, and she added, so thank you. He turned to look at her again, as she said, thank you for wanting to live. Thank you for fighting the wolf simply because you didn't want to die. It's as if you're telling me everything I've done so far wasn't in vain. So, she said one more time, thank you, Sane. Afterwards, Sane lay there lost in thought. The first time I felt that something was wrong was after Layla Hindaga ate the poisonous fruit and recovered her health. Even though the poison had just left her system, Layla ran to me first and checked to see if I had eaten breakfast. Even though I hadn't eaten for 2 days, I still had no appetite at all. This half-dead existence isn't my style. I just wanted to eat something before I died. I knew that starving myself for 2 days wouldn't be enough to kill me, so I just let it be. But Layla Hindaga, seeing me in that condition, dragged me to the dining hall. She should have been taking care of herself first, and in that moment, I was startled by that fleeting thought. Whether or not Layla Hindaga took care of herself, what does that have to do with me? Even as I was thinking that, I still found myself noticing her neck and Layla Hindaga's thin ankles. In the end, that was probably a signal that my mind and body were no longer moving according to my will. The first day we took a walk after receiving the sponsorship was no different from when Layla Hindaga suggested we take a walk in the garden. Her voice still rings in my ears. Foolishly, I remembered that she had fainted after eating fruit she'd picked from that garden, and I thought that if she went by herself, she would just do something stupid again. Before I even realized it, I was already taking a walk in the garden with Layla Hindaga. I knew it made no sense. Back then, Layla Hindaga had been in a tough spot for a few days straight, but now she was eating properly, so it was unlikely she would pick and eat some strange fruit again. No, I shouldn't have overthought it. I should have just gone wherever Layla Hindaga wanted and done everything she said like a doll. She would give up on trying to befriend me. Duke Hindaga would kill me, and everything would go back to how it was supposed to be. That's right. So why is it like this? Why am I so worried? Why is it that every time I sense her fear, I become unhappy? Seeing Layla Hindaga smile, why do I think that I would be happy if she were happy? Instead of mocking Layla Hindaga for stupidly stepping in front of the wolf, why did I ask her if she was hurt? Why? The image of the adult Layla appeared before Sane. She reached out her warm hand, you've done nothing wrong, and gently embraced Sane's usually cold body and gave him the warmth of her presence. Why? Why can't I take my eyes off Layla's smile? Hindaga Sion suddenly woke up from a dream. He quickly sat up. Something feels wrong here. Sion blushed, touching his head. Meanwhile, with Layla, my lady, has something happened to you lately? Layla looked at Mary through the mirror. What do you mean? Something good must have happened. What? Do I look like I'm in a good mood? Mary smiled cheerfully and replied, yes, you do. Why? I'm not smiling, am I? You just hummed very softly. And it wasn't just today. You've been doing that every chance you get for the past few days. What? Me? Layla looked at her reflection in the mirror, slightly surprised. What's been going on with you? Layla said, the meals have been more to my taste lately, so I've been eating a little more and feel more energetic. In the storage room, the maids had rebelled after having to endure terrible meals. Oh yeah, that's right, Layla thought to herself. Well, it's not exactly a lie. Now, even when I sit and eat with Sine, I don't feel as uncomfortable as I used to. Could it be because Sine's sorrow is slowly fading? I've been eating well and sleeping well lately, and I don't find Sine as scary anymore. The other day I even dreamed about my 90th birthday, though of course it's not enough to get me excited yet. At the very least, I need to make Sine feel some level of gratitude or friendliness. Does he even have a way of showing those emotions? I can't picture it. The more she thought about it, the uglier her expression became. Because after all, Sine's feelings and thoughts aren't something one can know just by wanting to. Once he gets over his sadness, everything will be fine. With that thought, Layla said dejectedly, I don't know either, just do whatever you want. Very well, I'll take care of everything for you today. Layla looked up at Mary, puzzled. What? My lady, it's been a while since I've had an occasion like this. I, Mary, will show you the full extent of my skills. That's not what I said. Rest assured, my lady. All right. Later, a radiant Layla called out, "Hello, Saul," Mary boasted. "The masterpiece of my life. The garden of fluttering butterflies, or fluttering butterflies for short." Layla covered her face, a little embarrassed. Come to think of it, I got tricked again. This butterfly garden hairstyle, before I returned to the past. I saw this hairstyle trending when I visited the capital, but it's a little heavy for this small body of mine. She was deep in thought and didn't notice that Sion had been staring intently at her this whole time. He let out a small smile, but this accidentally caught Layla's eye. "What? Are you smiling?" Hearing her say that, he instantly reverted to his usual gloomy face. "What? You were smiling, weren't you?" Layla was dumbfounded, trying to press him again, but he bluntly denied it. "No, you did smile. I saw it clearly. You saw wrong. I'm not hallucinating, right? You smiled. What would make me smile? Do you really want confirmation that I was making fun of your accessory?" So even if he did smile, it wasn't for a good reason. Why was I even trying to confirm it? How foolish of me. She touched the accessory on her head, her expression sinking with disappointment. "So it doesn't look good on me, right?" He remained silent, saying nothing more. "Or do you just not want to answer?" After thinking for a moment, Layla asked cheerfully, "So should we go out? Where to? Where are we going today?" Layla thought to herself, a walk around the garden and the estate might be. Suddenly she remembered something and said excitedly, "Do you want to go out, or is there somewhere you'd like to go?" Sion replied, "No, I don't. Your hair." She cried out, "What?" Sion suddenly mused. She's already prepared to go out. Is she asking if I want to go out? Finally, Sion agreed and replied, "Okay, I want to go out." Layla immediately asked, "Where to? Where do you want to go?" Sion thought, "This is so annoying, but since I said I want to go out, I should suggest a place." Suddenly, Sion said, "The flower shop. Her hair accessory keeps catching my eye, but strangely, it really suits her." On the way, Layla thought to herself, "I heard that the final stage of treatment for amnesia is to look at and appreciate the beauty of flowers. How are these flowers? Perfect. Which one is prettier, this one or this one?" Maintaining his serious attitude, Sion said, "I don't know. Sion, don't you think flowers are beautiful? If they're beautiful, they get bought and sold." She thought to herself, "Honestly, this kid. Okay, we'll come back another time. I've seen the price tags on these flowers." They started to leave the shop, and the employee bowed goodbye. She began to get into the carriage and move to another location. A knight asked, "Where are we heading next?" "First, let's go to the restaurant nearby." "Wait, no, not the restaurant. Take me to the library instead. You know how to read, right? If you want to borrow a book, just grab whichever one you want." "What are we going to do?" "What? I need to find a book." "I'll be back later. Go ahead and find a book you want." "I understand." Soon after, they both went their separate ways to look for the books they wanted. Before she got far, Layla turned to a nearby employee. Layla approached a girl standing near the bookshelves there. "Excuse me, I'd like to see the complete catalog of books in the library. Everything." A moment later, that radiant face of hers became gloomy. "How am I supposed to check through all of these? With 10,000 books, there has to be some information about the regression stone, right? But there are no books here that mention anything similar to that. Maybe it's because this library is too small? Should I try going to the National Library? I need to find an excuse to go to the capital, but there's no way that wicked father of mine would ever let me go." A person standing nearby accidentally saw Layla, and he murmured, the butterfly dance." Who is he? The butterfly dance. If I had ever met him, I'm sure I would recognize that face, but I have absolutely no memory of it. But how could this person know about the butterfly dance? Suddenly he said, "It really does look that way." Layla frowned and asked, "What does?" "Your ladyship's hair accessory really does look like it." So he just blurted out butterfly dance by chance? What in the world, this is getting stranger and stranger. He suavely brushed his hair back and said, "I'm not a weirdo, I assure you. I apologize for startling you by suddenly speaking out like that." But suddenly, someone rushed in from outside in a panic, calling, "Sir!" He seemed a bit flustered upon seeing the two of them. The knight leaned in and whispered in his master's ear, "The young lady is waiting. Please just hurry and leave this place." "What? Wait a second." He hesitated, but then he saw Layla had already turned to leave. Disappointed, he said, "All right, let's go." Back where Sion was, Layla asked Sion dejectedly, "Did you find a book?" Sion thought to himself, "Why does she have that look on her face? What happened while I was away?" Sion looked at her tiredly and wondered, "What?" She stared at him blankly and asked back, "What? I don't understand what you mean." Sion turned back to the bookshelf. "I couldn't decide which book to pick, so I didn't get anything." "Really? Should I recommend one for you then?" "No need, I'm fine." "All right, let's go. We're both hungry, aren't we?" "Okay then." He put the book back on the shelf and went with her. At the restaurant, the three of them were now settled in their seats. Layla looked at the waiter. "For now, just prepare what I mentioned earlier." "Yes, I understand, ma'am." After the waiter left, her knight spoke up. "My lady, I'm really all right. You must be hungry too. Let's just eat comfortably. It's only us. In that case, I will eat, thank you." Layla was lost in thought. But that guy, he was harassing me earlier. No, it wasn't just because he mentioned the butterfly dance, but his appearance itself was unsettling. I'm sure I've never met him before, but there's a strange sense of familiarity, a very strange feeling. Black hair and red eyes. Why does he feel so familiar? Layla turned to her knight. "Sir Taylor, may I ask you something?" Of course, my lady. Do you know of any nobleman like that? A young man who looks about 2 or 3 years older than me, and he has black hair and red eyes? Are you perhaps referring to Duke Kidon Jessica? Layla looked at Taylor with a questioning face. Kidon Jessica? It's possible. The appearance you described perfectly matches the second son of the Count Jessica. Layla was secretly surprised. The second son of Count Jessica. I remember now, Kidon Jessica. In my past life, that name was known throughout high society, even when I lived in seclusion at the estate. I still heard his name because of an extraordinary thing Kidon Jessica did when he was 19 years old. At that time, it had become a trend to have sword slaves instead of knight escorts. And Count Jessica, who was quick to follow trends, gave each of his children 10 sword slaves as gifts. Kidon Jessica, the second son, killed all the sword slaves he received. It wasn't just a one-sided massacre. He gave swords to the chosen slaves and faced them all at once. When someone asked him why he did it, because I find the sight of slaves holding swords disgusting, he answered very honestly. The nobles praised Kidon Jessica for single-handedly facing 10 chosen sword slaves. That just gives me the chills. They praised his hair, black as coal and dark as night, and his eyes, red as rubies. That's why he felt so familiar, even though I'd never met him. Just then, the food was brought out. I'll prepare the main course. Yes, thank you. Taylor turned to Layla, who was now mentioning the formula, just as it was said that Kid in the Chain was studying abroad this winter. Yes, really? Let's eat first, we're all hungry. Everyone, please enjoy the meal. Sion had been silent the whole time, just focused on listening to the two of them talk. But perhaps he was thinking about something. I'm so glad my curiosity was satisfied before the meal. It was bothering me so much it almost ruined my meal. Layla suddenly looked up at Sauron and saw that his expression hadn't changed at all. Sauron was the same as always. I had deliberately ordered everything on the menu. Doesn't he have a favorite food? Or did it disappear because of his amnesia? Ugh, why am I even worrying about this? She shook her head, trying to refocus. Sion fought the wolf because he wanted to live, so I've already achieved my goal. That's right, but she put her fork back down on the table. Why does it still bother me so much? Layla rested her chin on her hands and watched Sauron elegantly enjoying his meal. This must be why I shouldn't just leave him like this, just in case the amnesia comes back. Layla smiled foolishly at Sauron, who found it strange and looked back at her. As for Taylor, he felt like a third wheel in this atmosphere. That's right, I can't let Sion fall into a state of not wanting to live ever again. Taylor looked at her bright smile and then over at Sion, who was focused on eating. I have to make sure his amnesia is completely cured. A lady not focusing on her own food, but just staring at her slave, and a slave who takes all her attention without batting an eye while still enjoying his meal. Don't even try to understand it. I've seen that even if I try, I won't get it. A while later, after the three of them had finished eating and left the restaurant, Layla looked outside as they were on their way home. In the end, today didn't really yield many results. Sion didn't seem very happy, and I didn't find out anything about the resurrection stone in the library. The carriage finally came to a stop, and they all got out. Taylor carefully helped her down. Please be careful as you step down. Just as she got down, a hurried voice called out, Lady Layla! She looked up to see who it was. You've returned. I've been waiting for you. Is something wrong? Is it urgent? Please come with me immediately. Then they all went inside. Where are we going? To the drawing room. A guest is waiting for you. Who could it be to make the headmaid act like this? She blankly followed the headmaid, wondering as she walked, could it be some high-ranking noble? But why would a noble like that want to see me? When they arrived in front of the drawing room door, the headmaid invited her inside. Ahem, the guest is waiting for you in here. All right, I'll go in and see them. She thought to herself, well, I'll know as soon as I see them. Young master, Lady Layla has arrived. The door slowly opened. She wondered, young master? Layla was completely taken aback, a mix of shock and surprise as she looked at the guest. Ah, my apologies. He opened the door himself instead of letting a servant do it. But this outfit, Kidden's voice rang out. Lady Layla Hindaga, Kidon the Chain. She thought worriedly, why is he here? The headmaid poked her in the waist from behind as a reminder. Startled by her action, Layla quickly replied, yes, that's right. Kidon extended his hand to invite her in. Please come in, Lady Layla Hindaga. She quietly replied, yes. So this is Kidon, Chain. Now I understand why the butler was so flustered. She spoke softly. I will have some tea prepared. That won't be necessary. I must decline as I don't have much time to talk. He doesn't have time to talk? Even though he's so busy, he still waited for me in the drawing room. He is the second son of the Count Chain family. The influence that the family of Count Chain wields is on a completely different level from other Count families. The current king is famous for adoring the queen. He cannot live without her, and the beloved queen has only one relative. That would be Count Chain. And furthermore, the Countess Chain has only 2 children, so even the Marquis Hindaga family cannot take this guest lightly. What's more important is the reason why such an important guest has come to see me at this time. Kidon spoke softly. In the library, I mentioned that I am not a peculiar person. Do you remember? Layla's eyes widened in surprise. Yes, I remember. That's right, that did happen. He placed a hand on his chest and introduced himself. I am Kidon Chain. Sitting across from him, she copied his action, and I am Layla Hindaga. I know this may sound sudden, but Layla. Staring at him with wide eyes, she couldn't help but notice his skin was as white and pure as a lotus. So between the two of them, I wonder who is paler. I think Sion might be a little bit paler. He smiled softly and said, I have wanted to see you again, Lady Layla. Layla was stunned. Huh? He continued in a soft voice. I will get straight to the point. If you would allow me, I would like to promise a future with you, Lady Layla. She thought blankly. No, her inner voice screamed. Is he crazy? She tried to calm herself down. Could he have been in an accident or something? Before we happened to meet in the library? Maybe that's why right after the accident, he started talking about the butterfly dance. Kaiden continued, I am not asking you to answer right now. This winter, I will be going abroad to study. I will return after 5 years. She watched him in silence. Kidon placed a hand on his chest. By then, I hope to hear your answer. After that, the room suddenly fell unusually silent. She mused to herself, not 5 months, but 5 years from now. This is bad. By then I'll be back to normal. She gave a small smile and replied, I understand. Hearing this, Kaidon couldn't help but be surprised, and then his face turned red. Seeing this, she quickly teased, Why are you blushing like that? Layla told herself, No way, that's how it'll be, right? Surely when I return, I will have regained my senses. In her imagination, Kidon would ask softly, Layla Hindaga, was there ever such a woman? Ha ha. The person next to him would chime in, Sir, do you intend to meet Lady Layla Hindaga? She affirmed, Yes, that's right, it will definitely be like that. Looking at the girl in front of him, Kidon couldn't help but praise her. You are truly very beautiful. Pardon? He answered firmly, Your hair is really beautiful. It suits you very well, even now. After seeing him again, the tension was clear on Layla's face as she thought, I have a very bad feeling about this. Afterward, Layla lay on her bed, exhausted. Why did I have to go to the library at that exact time today? And run into that damn Keaton? What he did today was practically a marriage proposal. If I hadn't hesitated, we probably would have had an engagement ceremony already. And the fact that he opened the door himself means he must have run to the door the moment he heard I had arrived, right? Does that mean his proposal today was serious? What? Even if he's really infatuated with me, 5 years is a long time. On the off chance that Keaton still hasn't been able to forget me after 5 years, I just have to act in a way that makes him lose interest. Then it shouldn't be a big deal. In terms of looks and background, he's definitely an excellent candidate for a future husband, but the slave massacre he committed, that's not something a Hindaga does, but it is also an act so very much like a Hindaga. The thought of living with someone like that truly makes me sick. Just imagining it, I'd rather die. No, maybe not that far, but it's still better to be alive, right? Living is better, isn't it? No, don't think about it anymore. The marriage isn't even decided yet, so there's no need to worry right now. First, I need to deal with the problems right in front of me. She gently stroked her chest. For example, thinking about Saul's loss instead of Keaton's makes me feel a little better. Does that mean I dislike Keaton more than Saul? That's weird. No matter how much I dislike Keaton, it doesn't make sense for me to dislike him more than Saul. What Keaton did was a terrible act, but it has nothing to do with me. Meanwhile, Saul is practically my enemy. Between a man who has never harmed me and who likes me, and a man who is my enemy, and seems to dislike me, is it normal to dislike the former more? Layla quickly flopped back onto the bed. Perhaps her eyes were filled with thought. I'm starting to get confused. Outside, the carriage slowly began to move. Inside, Keaton rested his chin on his hand. His subordinate asked, My lord, did everything go smoothly? Keaton asked him in return, Am I unattractive? The man's jaw dropped at this question from Keaton. No, that's impossible. Absolutely impossible. In this kingdom, who could possibly be more handsome than you? Hearing this, Keaton immediately looked at his reflection in the glass. That's right. I haven't seen many people more handsome than myself either. And besides, it's been objectively confirmed. Keaton recalled Layla's expression at that moment and wondered, but then why did Layla Hindaga act that way? She definitely had an expression of refusal. If I hadn't given her 5 years to answer, she would have certainly rejected me on the spot. Even when I was only 15, a lady confessed to me and said my face was practically glowing. And now, 10-year-old Lady Layla Hindaga rejects my marriage proposal. I really don't understand. His subordinate tried to comfort him. My lord, please don't be disheartened. You'll find someone better. No, you will definitely find someone better. I swear it on my honor. Hearing this, Keaton immediately asked, What is that supposed to mean? Keaton repeated, What is that supposed to mean? I am going to marry Layla Hindaga, not now, but in 5 years. The subordinate observed the expression on Keaton's face. I think she rejected him, based on what you just said and the look on her face. Is that what happened? Actually, the reason Keaton sought out Layla in the first place was to clear up some misunderstandings about himself. Suspicious gazes, absurd misunderstandings, these were things he had never encountered before. Previously, but after persuading his mother, who was still hesitant, to leave before he arrived at the Marquise's estate. And upon hearing the name Layla Hindaga, Keaton felt an inexplicable sense of relief. Realizing she wasn't just a guest but the Marquise's daughter, I felt a baseless sense of relief. And when Layla opened the door and walked in, Keaton realized he had fallen for her at first sight, and he already considered her his future fiancée. Keaton mused, 5 years from now it won't matter at our wedding. I'll decorate the hall with lavender. The scene suddenly changed. What is this? A banquet hall suddenly appeared. What is going on? Everyone present exclaimed, Happy birthday, my son, Kitten. Are you 19 years old now? It was Kitten's birthday party, with chains overhead. A powerful man announced in a booming voice, I have prepared a gift for you, Kaiden. Wait, his 19th birthday means. The man's voice dropped as he declared, it's all yours. The Countess had gifted Kitten and his brother a slave, a swordsman. As Kaiden slowly drew his sword, no, I don't want to see this. Everyone else drew their swords in unison, and among them was Sauron. Why is Sauron here? Kidan gave a sinister smile. He held a sharp sword in his hand, and Sauron also raised his, preparing to fight his opponent. People shouted, run, run, get out of here. A splash of fresh blood filled Layla's vision, and she jolted awake in fear, screaming. No, Layla was drenched in sweat. It was a dream, just a dream. Two such strange dreams. They make no sense at all, but they left me with a terrible feeling. Mary, I want to wash my face. She quickly replied, yes, my lady, I'll prepare it right away. I have to wash this feeling away, she thought uncomfortably. Later, Layla went to the library to read, Danger, surprise, a significant change may be coming. This is how to deal with bad dreams. Oh, here it is, how to fix a nightmare. Teach something to the person who was injured, or died in the dream. It will remove some of the bad luck from the dream, helping you avoid the worst outcome. Her eyes widened in disbelief. What is this? Is that all? It only helps me avoid the worst outcome? Isn't there a better way? She quickly shut the book. I guess not. Well, I guess I'll have to go with this method for now. But what should I teach him? Suddenly, an image of Sion came to her mind. I feel like he already knows how to cook, embroidery, flower arranging, knitting, dancing, music, something else. There are so many things to learn, but I don't know what he'd be interested in. Ah, she recalled the image of Sane holding a sword. She rushed off immediately. Yes, a sword would be the best option, because he's going to defeat demons in the future, so he'll definitely be interested, even though he killed me with a sword. No, that's not right. Even if he doesn't learn swordsmanship, it would still be easy for him to kill me. I could. Let's choose something he'd enjoy learning. All right, let's go with swordsmanship. I thought it would be difficult to persuade Saint, but contrary to my expectations. His reaction was better than I thought. He hesitated a little before answering, but I decided to overlook it. The important thing is that Saint has never learned swordsmanship, and now the next step is to get permission from the villain, the one who actually owns Saint. Layla stood before the Marquis and said bluntly, Father, I have a request. Please allow Saint to learn swordsmanship. He frowned without replying, then rested his chin on his hand. For a moment, it made Layla tremble with fear. After a while, he said, do as you wish. Layla asked again with some doubt. Really? He said nonchalantly. Why, is there a problem with that? She answered awkwardly. No, that's actually great. I will handle it myself. All right, if you're done, then you may leave. Yes. Father, thank you. Then, she walked out of his office. I came here determined to get his permission somehow. Is he in a good mood, or does he just not care? Who cares? As long as I got his permission, that's enough. Besides, the next step won't be easy, so I'll just focus on that. Just then, Taylor said, Very well, I predicted you would say that, but you should think it over. What? What did you just say? He asked with a puzzled look. I said very well. But did you hear what I said just now? You've asked me to teach Saint swordsmanship not just once, but repeatedly. Then, she asked again, so you know who Saint is? Taylor replied nonchalantly. Isn't he that mute slave you're taking care of, milady? Layla grew pensive. I thought no one would volunteer to teach Saint, so I prepared a list of 5 potential instructors. I'm quite surprised that Taylor, the one I wanted the most, accepted so easily. He may be young, but he's already in the Knight Order. His skills are outstanding. No one is more suitable to be Saint's teacher, but it's strange that someone like him would accept my request so easily. Could it be? Her eyes turned sharp as she asked quietly, How much do you need? He replied softly, Pardon me? She began to explain. Payment for teaching Saint today might be difficult, but if you wait a few days. Taylor bowed his head and replied, No, I don't need any money. What? No compensation is needed at all. I'll teach him for free. She was a bit skeptical. I don't understand why you would teach Saint swordsmanship without expecting any compensation. You know he isn't treated well. So what is your reason? If I have to give one, I'm very curious about your slave, milady. That is my reason. When you took him outside, I was the one in charge of your escort. Do you remember? At that time, I felt that he was no ordinary person. A question popped into Layla's head. Saint isn't ordinary? For him to know that means he's a genius. That's really something special. Taylor bowed, confused. Pardon me? Layla asked. When you first joined, they called you the genius rookie for a while, right? Apparently, a true genius really does see things differently. Taylor's face turned red. Why bring that up all of a sudden? She said aloud. In any case, please take care, Mr. Taylor. Taylor smiled at that, then knelt down and placed a light kiss on her hand. I will not betray your trust, she thought to herself. As expected, teaching him swordsmanship was the right decision. Not only can I deal with the demerit disguised as a dream, but Sion also becomes stronger, reducing the chance of an incident like the one with Tommy happening again. Layla smiled faintly with satisfaction. Moreover, the learning process itself helps with trauma, recovery. It's like killing 3 birds with 1 stone. The only downside is that I know very little about swordsmanship, so I can't gauge Sion's progress. Maybe I should have learned with him instead of giving up from the start. No, that would have been too much. I almost died after just one day together. Taylor approached her and called out softly, "My lady." She gave a friendly smile. "Oh, is he finished with his lesson?" Taylor slowly replied, "He is." She praised them. "You both did a great job. There is something I'd like to discuss with you briefly." She replied softly, "Oh, then we should go somewhere else. In that case, I would appreciate that." Layla looked over at Sion, saying, "Sion, go on ahead. I'll join you soon." Afterwards, Layla gently lifted her cup of hot tea. She asked, "So, what is this about? Is it related to Sion?" Taylor replied, "Yes, that's right." She chuckled and said, "I hope it's something good, like Sion being a genius. You're not planning on quitting, are you?" "As you said, my lady." "Huh? You really want to leave?" "No, it's not like that. It's just that I think Sion might actually be a genius." Hearing that, Layla started coughing, making Taylor quite worried. "My lady, are you all right? I'm fine. I just choked a little, don't mind me." But inside, she thought, "For real? I said that as a joke, but is he actually a genius? I understand what you're saying, but what kind of genius are we talking about? Could you please explain?" Taylor replied, "To put it simply, there is nothing left for me to teach Sion." Layla was completely astonished. "Huh? Does that mean Sion has become stronger than you, Mr. Taylor?" Taylor said, "I'm not so sure about that. My physique is a bit larger, so I think I could still win at this point. There are many factors that determine the outcome of a fight." Taylor recalled when he was fighting Sion, but in terms of understanding swordsmanship, Sion has definitely surpassed me. She thought to herself, is Sion really that talented? Even Mr. Taylor is called a genius, but he's saying Sion is even more brilliant than him. However, we could consider another possibility. Could it be that Sion was an excellent swordsman in a past life and still retains those memories? Taylor added, "If that's the case, no matter how many times we fight, I won't be able to win. As for the other members of the Night Order, I'm not sure they could win either." Layla continued her train of thought. If Sion really does have memories of his past life, Taylor was still smiling cheerfully. "Of course, this is all just for fun. Can you imagine anything more unrealistic than someone remembering their past life?" Layla snapped out of it and quickly replied, "Haha, right, of course." Taylor then said, "It's also impossible for someone to come back to life after dying." This statement made Layla flinch, and she thought to herself, "No, if that were the case, Sion would have had to die and resent me even more. But lately, he hasn't been staring at me again." She spoke up, "Wait, does this mean you're going to stop your sword training? Will you stop practicing swordsmanship?" She thought to herself, "You're not just saying that as an excuse to stop teaching, are you?" Taylor immediately denied it. "No, that's not it. Even though I can no longer guide him, I can still observe. I might give some advice from time to time. After all, I'm still Sean's teacher. I think I have an obligation to closely watch over my disciples' growth." Layla asked, a bit confused. "Teacher?" Taylor answered with a radiant smile. "That's right, I was the first one to teach that boy." She started to think, he now considers the boy I called a slave just 1 month ago his disciple. Layla smiled gently. "The real reason I wanted to teach Sean swordsmanship wasn't just because I thought he'd be good at it. It was because I wanted him to show his talent and be recognized so he would be treated better. But why did I want that for him? What difference does it make to me how he's treated?" Layla continued to be lost in her thoughts, because maybe he would be grateful to me, and I would earn his favor. Yes, that's the only reason, for my own survival. Taylor's voice pulled her out of her thoughts. "Ah, by the way, my lady, have I ever told you?" Layla wondered. "Huh, tell you what, about how Sean did during the 19th lesson." Well, Layla thought he was just bragging about his disciple, right? Still, it's nice that someone recognizes Sean. I'm proud of him, or at least I thought I was. I never thought that feeling would vanish in just half a day. Remembering what my father said, is there nothing left to teach that slave? I want to see how skilled he is. Enter him into the Lowell Gladiator tournament. So that was the reason he agreed so easily. If I had known, I would have never let him learn swordsmanship. I was so caught up in my own excitement, I couldn't think straight. The moment Sean shows his talent, my father, that villain, will take an interest in him and everything else. The Lowell Gladiator tournament, usually a match, will end in one of two ways. First, when one of the participants surrenders. Second, when one of them is too gravely injured or dead to continue. But in the Lowell Gladiator tournament, only death can end a match. Unlike other gladiator tournaments, the fighters in the Lowell tournament are not chosen by the organizers but by sponsors, who send their own fighters to the arena. The sponsors hold complete authority over their fighters and bet huge sums of money on them. Their winnings and losses all depend on the outcome. No sponsor wants a match to end too quickly or easily. Therefore, sponsors in the Lowell tournament never allow their gladiators to concede defeat during a match. Their gladiators must fall on the arena floor before their very eyes, which is why Lowell matches are often called the Lowell Bloody Slaughterhouse. Sending Sean there is basically a death sentence. It's a place where all kinds of vicious criminals and mercenaries gather. Suddenly a voice called out, "What are you doing here?" Layla looked up, startled. "Huh? Sean? It's really Sean. I've been thinking about him for so many hours. I thought I was hallucinating." Sion says, "Mary has been looking for you." Layla asked, "Did Mary send you to find me? She must have brought me some tea. I'm sorry, did I make you search for long?" Then Sion said, "No, Layla sighed in relief. Should I tell Sion to go back first? Going inside with him won't help anything. I won't be able to sleep and will only get more upset. Hey, Sion. Before she could finish, Sion asked, what's going on? Why are you just sitting out here? Layla stared at him, thinking she never expected him to ask that. Is it weird for me to be sitting in the garden this late? Should I just be direct? It's going to happen soon anyway. There's no need to hide it from him. Layla answered his earlier question. The problem is, Father summoned me today, and he told me to register you for the Long EO tournament, but most of the participants in that tournament die. Suddenly, tears started streaming down her face. She thought she couldn't even finish her sentence. I can't say anything else. Should I just apologize? That I didn't know this would happen. I was the one who told him to learn swordsmanship, and now Sion is the center of attention because of me, and is going to die a miserable death. I thought things were finally getting better, but now I'm going to be the one Sion hates all over again. Suddenly, Sion reached up and wiped away her tears. Layla wondered in surprise, what? Did Sion just touch my face? But why? What's the reason? Sion then even used both hands to cup her soft cheeks, and Layla kept calling his name, but he wouldn't answer. While cupping her cheeks, Sion asked, what should I do? Layla was confused and asked, huh? Sion asked again, how can I survive that tournament you mentioned? Layla replied, if you win, but it's really hard. Then Sion said nonchalantly, okay, I'll win. Then Sion started to release her cheeks. I'll win, so you should go inside now. It's getting cold and it's very late. Layla replied, okay. She thought to herself. Sion wiped my tears, and he even walked me back to my room. Sion said, good night. Layla replied shyly, you too, good night. He even wished me a good night. After he left, she pinched her own cheek. Was I dreaming? No, it wasn't. But Sion, why the sudden change? The next day, I remembered that I never drank the apple tea Mary had made for me, so I went to look for it. I couldn't find it anywhere. It must have been cleared away. I asked Mary about it. But strangely, she didn't remember, Layla thought, confused. But didn't you say you were looking for me? Oh well, it wasn't that important. A few days passed by like that, and before I knew it, the gladiator tournament, the Lowell, was only one day away. The thought of having to sit in a carriage for an entire day to get to that ridiculous tournament is really pissing me off. If only there was a sudden downpour right now. That would be great. Or even better, I wish a bolt of lightning would strike the tournament hall. A lightning bolt so powerful it splits the entire hall in two and sets it ablaze, then the organizers wouldn't be able to fix it. Of course, that's just my own ridiculous fantasy. Wait, Layla turned to the person next to her and asked, why is Sir Taylor riding in this carriage? Shouldn't you be with my father? Taylor replied, I've already moved. Layla asked, by yourself? He gave me permission. Besides, there are other knights with that carriage anyway. Taylor placed a hand on his chest. I will protect this carriage. Layla said, how about getting out of the carriage right now? Why would I do that? I thought we've gotten quite close. Over this time, haven't we? Layla laughed awkwardly. Just kidding, don't mind me. She looked over at Sion. With Taylor here, Sion can't talk freely, not that I have anything special to say to Sion anyway. But I'm feeling so anxious, can I really save him? Father will of course be the sponsor, right? If Father decides to throw in the towel, it'll be fine, but just begging on my knees is too plain. Is there a more certain way to persuade him? Also, something is shaking. Layla looked down and saw Taylor's leg shaking uncontrollably. She asked, are you nervous? Taylor replied with an awkward laugh. What? Of course not. I'm just excited to see my first disciple win the gladiator tournament. Absolutely. Too bad your words and your tone don't quite match, Taylor said, trembling. It's just a habit. Layla thought, how absurd. The person actually involved is the calmest one here. She remembered that night. Sion told her, all right, I'll win, no problem. He probably doesn't know how harsh the gladiator tournament is. He doesn't know how ruthless and terrifying the opponents are. Sion doesn't understand. I can't feel relieved by his words from yesterday. Even though I know I shouldn't, right now I want to hear Sion's voice. Even for just a minute. Even for just a second. Arriving at the gladiator tournament, Lowell, Taylor, Layla, and Sion were wearing hooded cloaks. They're holding the tournament in a place like this? They must have purposely chosen a place this remote and small, right? It doesn't really matter, since only those in the know would participate. As they entered, the ticket checker asked, your registration number is 16, and at the request of the sponsors, everyone is required to wear a mask. Layla thought, of course, they're forcing the participants to wear masks. How horrible. I have to find a way to make Father throw in the towel during the match, but how? Sion came closer to her and said, stop thinking such nonsense. He leaned in close to Layla's ear. I'm not lying. Then he moved ahead of her, as a guide called out to him. Sion, participant, this way. Sion's recent action made her blush in the gladiator tournament's waiting room. Participant number 7 was yelling, if only I hadn't mistaken my target that day. Of all people. I had to mistake my target for a nobleman's son. Tsk, tsk. I guess I'm lucky they offered to settle it by having me win this tournament. He continued to shout, so you all better get on your knees and beg your sponsors. Pray they let you join the next tournament. Haha, he's talking way too much, making the other participants in the room start to get annoyed. An instructor announced that number 7 and number 16 were to prepare for the arena. Number 7 said confidently, how pitiful. You have to fight me without even getting a chance to beg for mercy. Let's see, number 16 was Sion. Seeing his opponent, number 7 said, "Just a kid? This will haunt your dreams." But very quickly, he was defeated by Sion. Next up was number 10, Sion's next opponent. He thought to himself, number 7. He must have realized he couldn't beat this kid, so he must have thrown the match on purpose. He talked tough, but he had a good heart. The way he faked passing out after a punch to the jaw was an impressive act, though it's a shame his patron is about to tear him to shreds for the shame he brought. And in the end, that brat will die by my hand. What a pity. I'll end this match quickly without getting a single scratch. This is the least I can do. But he too was eliminated by Sion. Next was opponent number 21, who stuck out his tongue and whispered, "Number 7, number 10. I remember now. I didn't think both of them would be such idiots, but that works to my advantage. Killing weak and young things is always so much fun. He. I'm going to make you suffer slowly and painfully." But his fate was no different from the others defeated by Sion. Finally, it was the fully masked gladiator's turn. He also secretly mocked the previous gladiators. Number 70, 21, I remember now, especially number 21, who was a famous assassin. What a stroke of luck to face an opponent like this in the final round. With that thought, he spoke up, "Kid, unlike your previous opponents, I'm not going to let you have your way." Suddenly, he exclaimed in surprise, "What is this? For someone his age, what's with that cold stare?" Then the two rushed in to fight. He clicked his tongue. Tesk, damn it. Sion's attack made him struggle to block. But when he attacked, Sion easily spun and dodged. He thought to himself, they weren't letting him win on purpose. These flawless movements, his skills and physique are astonishing. And he's just a kid. Before he could finish his thought, Sion swung his sword with eyes full of overwhelming bloodlust, and in an instant, the man was flat on the ground with a massive lump on his head. At the same time, he cried out, "Too strong," the announcer proclaimed loudly. "It's a miracle! The winner of this year's gladiator tournament is contestant number 16, the boy gladiator." In the stands, everyone kept asking Marquis Hindaga about number 16. "Congratulations, Marquis. Wherever did you find this contestant?" "Of course, I intend to purchase him for a high price." Layla was completely astonished. "What in the world? Is this really happening?" She looked down at Sion. "Did Sion really win?" "Ah." From down below, Sion said to Layla, "I told you I wasn't tricking you. I said I'd win." Seeing his gentle gaze, Layla smiled and called out, "Sion." Marquis Hindaga laughed with delight. Sitting beside him, Layla thought helplessly, Seriously, this foolish old man. I want to punch him so bad." Suddenly, he called out, "Layla." "Yes, father? Thanks to you, I've had an experience I'll never forget," she thought angrily. "So what? Who do you think I've been living through hell for these past 10 days for?" he continued. "You know something? The winner of this competition usually gets to ask for one wish from their sponsor." Layla wondered, "What do you mean? He said he's your slave, so you should be the one to grant his wish." Layla thought, "But you said you'd grant me a wish if I pleased you. Are you just going to be this fickle about it?" He asked. "You don't have one?" She replied, "Do I really have to say it here?" He hummed in agreement, and Layla cursed internally. "That damn old man." He then said, "If he wins." Layla cut him off, calling out, "A guard! A guard!" He was surprised. "Huh? What was that?" Layla's mind raced. "Please let Sion be my personal guard." "A guard?" she replied. "Let the two of us go out alone. Just the two of us, with no other guards accompanying us." She thought, "That's a strange request, isn't it? I wonder when a slave who wants to escape their master." Suddenly, Marquis Hindaga's voice rang out, "Do it!" Layla flinched involuntarily. She turned and asked, "Pardon me?" Judging by his performance today, he seems qualified enough to be a guard. "Why are you looking at me like that? Do you want to change your wish?" Layla stammered. "Ah, no. Thank you for granting my wish, father." Layla thought pensively, "What's going on? I don't know why, but something feels strange, just like when I said I wanted to teach Sion how to hold a sword. Getting my wish granted like this is too easy." She glanced at Taylor and saw he was in tears. He cried while making an excuse, "I just got some dust in my eye." Sniff. Layla looked at him, amused. "I don't know if I should call him cute or not. Well, I guess this is good enough. At least Sion is safe now. I should just be happy about it for now, even if it's not to the point of crying like Taylor." The scene changes to a room. Someone could be heard talking in their sleep. "Ah, father! Ah, no! Sion is trying to escape." Layla shot up, screaming, "No, it wasn't poison, was it?" She calmed herself for a moment, then quickly jumped out of bed. She thought to herself, "It was a dream, right? He didn't really give him poison, did he?" She ran in a panic. "No wonder I had such a strange feeling. There's no way that bastard would let him become my guard so easily." 6 years later, the reason sword slaves became more popular than regular guards was because of poison. It doesn't kill the victim quickly, but you have to take an antidote regularly if you want to live a normal life. Of course, only the noble masters possess the antidote to prevent the sword slaves from escaping or rebelling, making it impossible for them to succeed. What if he gave that to Sion? Layla ran to Sion and yelled, "Sion!" She placed both hands on his shoulders, confusing him. "Why are you suddenly?" Before he could finish, Layla hurriedly asked, "Have you eaten anything? Or when we ate together, did anyone give you anything strange to eat, huh?" Sion gently took her hands. "Calm down, I haven't eaten anything." She asked suspiciously, "You really haven't eaten anything?" He confirmed again, "Really, I haven't eaten a single thing since I ate with you." Layla kept asking and he kept answering. Really? Really? Are you sure? Do you want me to swear on it? Their faces were quite close now. Layla let go of him. Sion asked, "Is that enough? Any more questions?" She replied, "No more." As she sat on the bed with Sion, she thought, "Am I being too sensitive? That bastard always does whatever he wants anyway. Hey, Sion, do you want to go outside?" He simply replied, "Okay." Outside, the two of them were taking a relaxing walk. But she still wondered, what if Sion ran away? Remembering when he wiped her tears for her, he probably doesn't hate me that much. Yeah, so if he runs away now and comes back 15 years later, I could definitely forgive him, right? Yeah, I hope Sion really escapes this mansion. I have a billion ways to pull this off. With that thought, she told Sion, "I'm going to go shopping alone. I'm going by myself, understand? I'm going in here alone." Sion replied, "Yeah, okay." Inside the store, Layla kept telling herself, "Sion, run away now." The girls behind her were chatting. "Oh my gosh, that's so great. You have such good taste." Layla thought, "I wonder if he's escaped yet." She got ready to open the door. "Please, please, please." When she opened it, Sion was still standing right there. She asked, "Sion, why are you still?" He looked at her, confused. "Still here," she awkwardly explained. "Oh no, it's nothing." That's right. Maybe he never even thought about running away in the first place. What if I give him a little hint? Maybe he'll actually plan to escape then? "Next," she said. "Sion, I'm going to borrow a book by myself, and it's going to take a long time." Sion's reply was still short. "Okay." Just like before, when she came out with the book, she still saw Sion standing there waiting for her. Layla didn't give up. "All right, let's keep going." Layla said to him again, "Sion, you know how girls usually take a very long time to choose clothes, right? I'm going to be gone for a super long time." He only replied with a single word, "Yeah." Just like before, when she came out in a new outfit, he was still there. He even hit her with a comment, "Are you really planning to go with me in that dress?" Nope, not giving up. Layla kept at it. This time she said, "Sion, I'm going to that store. It's far away and it'll take a while." Without another word, Sion replied, "Yeah, okay." Layla wearily thought, "I gave him such a clear hint before I left, so why didn't he run away?" She was so tired that she just said, "Let's go back." Sion said, "Okay." Layla looked at him and thought, did he really just wait and not run away? Or maybe he thinks he'll get caught if he actually escapes. Since we're still in the Marquis' territory? Layla made up her mind. "All right then, tomorrow I will definitely make you escape, Sion." The next morning, while in the carriage with Sion, she said when they arrived, "Let us out here." The driver immediately stopped. "Yes, my lady." Layla got out of the carriage and thought to herself, "We're finally here, the perfect place for Sion to escape. The farther from the Hindaga estate, the better, especially in a deep forest like this, where people can disappear without a trace." Layla said, "Let's go, Sion. If this place is this perfect, then he'll definitely be able to escape today." So she walked on, humming to herself, but when she glanced back later, Sion was still there. She panicked. "Crap, I've already sung every song I know." Layla wondered to herself, "We're this far from the carriage and I'm not even watching him. Shouldn't he have thought about making a run for it by now? Oh, or is my presence making him uncomfortable?" Layla called out. "Over here, Sion." She said, "I'm going back to the carriage for a bit." She thought, "Perfect, I'll just stay there. I won't even take a single step out of the carriage." A while later, Layla groggily woke up. She rubbed her eyes and thought, "I just dozed off for a moment. Sion must have escaped by now." Just as she finished that thought, Sion's face suddenly appeared at the carriage window, startling her into a scream. Then Sion walked over and asked, "Did you see a ghost?" Layla tiptoed from the carriage to the door, answering in a flustered state, "No." Suddenly he stepped onto the carriage, causing her to panic and back away suspiciously. "Why are you here?" Sion quickly explained. "You never told me to wait there. You only said you would come back." So, his calm demeanor frightened Layla, and she thought in a panic, "Huh? What is he talking about? If I didn't come back, he should have escaped." The two of them sat facing each other, but Layla's stream of vague thoughts and speculations continued. Could it be because this is a forest? This reminded her of the lonely figure of Sen, the servant who had dragged Sen into the hunting forest. That's what they said, wasn't it? If he tried to escape from here, 10 arrows would fly at him. If that threat haunted him so much that he didn't dare think of escaping, then this is definitely not what I expected. Could it be that Sion feels like he's being tested? Fortunately, it doesn't seem to be the case right now. I've been too stubborn today. I'll definitely have a clearer head tomorrow. The next day, at a cool green lake, Layla observed her surroundings and silently analyzed. All right, if it's here, if I slip here. Layla stepped back and nestled against Sion, which surprised him a little. Sion looked at her suspiciously. "What's wrong?" Layla's face showed a bit of fear as she replied with a forced smile. "Oh, nothing." She lamented to herself. "This is bad. I'm afraid a wolf might appear like last time. I can't leave his side now." That day also passed. The next day, Layla started to feel more comfortable as she sat relaxing by the lake with Sion. However, by the following day, Layla felt a sense of boredom, and she began to ponder. This place isn't so great. Then the next day came, and now there was nowhere else to go. She sat exhausted, leaning against a tree in a daze. "I've lost track of how many days it's been. I'm so tired," Layla told herself. "I should rest for a bit." Leaves fell in the romantic atmosphere, Am I getting sleepy again? Suddenly, she turned and looked dazedly at Sion. Layla gently asked Sion, "Why don't you run away?" He was silent for a moment, then said sadly, "So this is how it's always been." Sion wondered, "Why do you want me to escape?" But the question received no answer. Suddenly, Sion leaned forward. "I want to do what you want, but I still can't escape. There's a reason I can't tell you." Then, Sion came closer and gently touched her hair. "So don't try so hard anymore, it's a waste of energy." Even in her hazy state of mind, she was lucid enough to reply, "All right, but how did you read my mind?" He answered, "I don't know, get some more sleep, Layla." Sion told himself, "I must be crazy. I've known I was crazy for a long time, but now it has reached a whole nother level." The moment I became fully aware of my condition was one night, when I went out to the garden to find Layla Hindaga, who still hadn't returned to her room even though it was past midnight, without even stopping to think why. I was so aware of the sound of her door. I headed straight for the garden she often visited. And deep in the garden, I found Layla Hindaga. When I saw her vulnerable expression and we exchanged a few words, I saw tears falling from her large eyes. In that moment, my thoughts suddenly stopped for a moment. It feels like I'm facing the monster I've been trying to push away. That's right, I'm a monster, something that should never exist within me, but I had to accept it. There's no way to avoid it, I can only accept it. That monster even made me kick away the chance to die, something I had desperately waited for all this time with my own 2 feet. "Where's Layla?" "I don't regret it." Suddenly, he was startled when he saw her figure. "Oh, there she is." The monster's presence had grown so large that I couldn't feel such emotions, which made him a little doubtful about his own feelings. What is this foolish feeling? I deserve to go to hell, but because of Layla Hindaga, I might have lost the right to be punished and atone for my sins. Is there any chance for someone who has embraced the monster within them? Layla gently stroked his cheek, calling softly, "Sauron, you've done nothing wrong." But because of those very words, I committed an even greater sin, breaking the vow I made at my family's grave. I swore that I would not leave a single Hindaga on this earth. Layla Hindaga. Layla, that's right, that's for certain. I can't fall into hell again. Later, at the training grounds, an innocent, surprised voice exclaimed, "Whoa!" Layla stretched with a slight shiver and said, "Ever since I stopped going out, I've been able to relax a little. I was so tired." She trailed off, suddenly remembering Sauron's terrifying, angry face. "No matter how hard you try, I won't run away, so just give up. If you're curious why, not knowing will only hurt you." However, this was just Layla's misunderstanding. She thought that even if it was just a dream, hearing a warning like that made me feel a little uneasy, even though he wasn't explicit about it. Suddenly, a voice cut through her thoughts. "Did you finally set Sion free?" Layla shot Taylor a death glare and replied, "If someone heard you, they'd think I was keeping Sion as a... No, never mind. Just go enjoy your time with your student. Thank you, milady. I have no idea when he got so fixated on this." Suddenly, she saw him turn back. And an image of a blood-soaked knight with demonic eyes flashed in her mind. "Whoa!" she cried out in fear. "Sion! What? Did I doze off again?" Looking at the two of them in front of her, Layla felt a bit dazed. "I don't understand why I've been sleeping so erratically lately, and on top of that, today's dream was just pure despair. Isn't it about time I had a hopeful dream?" Simon wiped away my tears, and considering how much he's improved since we first met, why would I have a dream like that, huh? I still remember the look in his eyes when we first met. Seeing that she was lost in thought, Taylor asked, "Milady, are you tired?" I didn't realize it, but I think I might be. I keep sleeping so erratically and having strange dreams for no reason. Taylor said, "When your body is exhausted, you tend to have bad dreams." Layla suddenly stood up and asked, "I should train harder then, right? I'm going to head in for today." "Yes, my lady. Please get some rest." Suddenly, a wave of dizziness washed over her, and Layla murmured dazedly, "Oh." The sword clattered to the ground. Sion swiftly moved to support her small frame, holding Layla in his arms and asking gently, "Are you all right?" In a bit of a panic, Layla suddenly shoved Sion away, leaving him stunned. She collapsed to the ground in a panic. "Why can't I stand?" Then, as a sudden realization hit her, Layla's body jolted. Sion stood nearby, his gaze fixed on her, but he didn't say a word. Taylor rushed forward. "My lady, are you okay? Please take my hand to help you up." "Thank you." Her eyes darted to Sion and she stammered, "Sion," but then she quickly looked away. As if to avoid his gaze, Taylor said reassuringly, "If you're not feeling well, then I can escort you back to your room." Layla shook her head. "No, it's fine. I can walk on my own. Then would you like a servant to go with you?" She cut him off. "I'm fine, really. I'll be going back first then. You two take care." Sion remained silent, merely lifting his hand to stare at it, his expression vacant and hard to read. As dusk settled, Layla lay in bed, a feeling of resentment bubbling up inside her. No, why should I have to apologize? She remembered the look on Sion's face. Why did he have that expression after I pushed him? I didn't ask him to catch me. His indifference is cruel. He's treated me much worse. He's always glaring at me. He wouldn't even touch the water and food I brought. He even spat out the herbs I gave him. Thinking about it, she suddenly stopped. "What? It's not like I'm angry about this, is it? So it's not because I'm afraid of the dream where Sion kills me. It's because after everything he's done to me, he reached out his hand and made that expression, and it's just so irritating. What is this feeling? But in a relationship like the one I have with Sion, is it normal to feel this irritated? She lay back down, pulling the covers over her head. No way! From the start, all I ever wanted from Sion was for him not to kill me. Besides that, I expect nothing from him, so there's no reason for me to be upset. That's right. This must all be a hallucination. Her hands shaking, she reached for the soup on the table and took a small sip. Still, I was so glad Taylor was there that day, but as she mulled it over, the color drained from her face. If it had been any other employee or knight, they might have said something about a slave touching his mistress. These past few days, Sion and I have been sharing what seems to be glances, but he isn't the type to say anything about it. Sir Taylor never really fit in with Hindaga from the beginning, which is probably why he left. I remember his farewell party was massive, especially for a young knight of his standing. I wonder if he joined the Royal Knights afterwards. Lost in her thoughts, she suddenly heard Mary's voice. Have you finished eating, my lady? Layla looked up at Mary, her eyes turning thoughtful. Come to think of it, Mary is leaving the Marquis's mansion next year. She'll probably run away in the dead of night, taking all of her possessions with her. I wonder if Mary will manage to escape successfully? If she gets caught, will that villain let a servant who ran off with her master's belongings go free? The air started to turn cold. The snow began to fall, only to melt away. Mary will surely try to escape. Is she really running away because of greed? The image of Mary lingered in Layla's mind, making her unable to stop wondering. In Mary's vacant gaze, she remained silent, lost in her own thoughts. I never once thought her words were a lie. But what if she did it because her circumstances forced her to? What if it's something I can help with? She looked up and spoke softly. Mary, there's something I need to ask you. Mary was startled and quickly replied, Is something wrong, my lady? Has something been troubling you lately? Mary seemed flustered. Pardon? Why do you ask all of a sudden? What could possibly be troubling me? It's just that you've looked a bit sad lately. If something is wrong, please tell me. Have I really been like that lately? I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was becoming negligent in my duties. See? So something is wrong, isn't it? Is it something that even I'm not allowed to know? My lady, it's not that, but... Her excuse made Layla's heart ache. I know I'm not the most capable master, but to think you see me as so incompetent, even though I don't know much about you. Mary, I care for you deeply. I want to help someone who is important to me, but you're saying that I don't even have the right to do that? Mary called out, moved. My lady. Her voice was choked up and her hands were trembling. Why would you say such a terrible thing? It's not like that at all. Layla gently stepped closer, taking Mary's hand. Then tell me what's going on, Mary said. Stop, please. My lady, what have I ever done to make you care for me so much? After a moment, she began to speak softly, as if revealing a long-hidden secret. The truth is, outside of the Marquis's mansion, I have a younger sibling to care for. I've hired a caretaker for them because they've been unwell. But the cost of their living expenses and medicine just keeps rising. So that was it, she thought to herself. I had no idea she had a sick sibling or that she had hired a caretaker. I was so worried about my own survival that I never even considered why Mary would run away. I just thought I should turn a blind eye to her theft. If I had just thought about it a little more, I would have realized Mary wouldn't do such a thing without a reason. Mary tried to smile. I'm sorry. Just thinking about it brings tears to my eyes. Mary, why not have your sibling live here at the mansion? Elvin can take care of them. Mary couldn't hide her shock. What? Layla continued. My father has been listening to my requests very well lately. I will speak to him. Mary was stunned. Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something, but all that came out was my lady. Suddenly, she rushed forward and embraced Layla. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Thank you. I will serve you for the rest of my life. Layla gently comforted her. You're already doing so well. Holding Mary, she thought to herself, Elvin is an excellent doctor, so I'm sure he can cure Mary's sibling. In a few years, I'll help her leave this Marquis's mansion. This time, I want her to be able to face everyone with her head held high, not run away. As I expected, my father granted my request. And just a few days later, Mary's younger brother arrived at the mansion. A strange feeling stirred within Layla. There wasn't much resemblance between him and Mary, but for some reason, she felt a sense of ease around him, just like she did with Taylor. He might be a little small for his age, but I have a feeling he'll grow up to be someone who can protect Mary. And watching the two of them, a question popped into my head. What kind of people are in Sion's family? Even though they don't share the same blood, they must look like a family when they're together. Even though Mary and her sibling don't look alike, somehow, they give off a family vibe. I wonder if there's someone with golden hair like Sion, like these flowers. Suddenly she was startled, realizing she had been unconsciously picking flowers. Huh? I was picking flowers without even realizing it. What should I do? Should I try to make something with them? An idea suddenly flashed in her mind. Layla gently wove the flowers into a small crown and approached Sion, and without a word of warning, she softly placed the flower crown on his head. He furrowed his brow, his eyes filled with confusion. What is this? Layla beamed, her face full of delight. A gift. Sion looked at her silently, but he didn't take it off. Layla tilted her head playfully and said, Since I gave you a gift, would you grant me a request? Sion thought for a moment, then answered succinctly, Okay. Layla smiled brightly. I have a question for you, and I really hope you can answer it. Sion asked curiously what it was. About your family, can you tell me more about them? Like what kind of people they are? How many there are? And if you have a good relationship with them? Of course, I assume your relationship is very good. Sion didn't answer right away. He lowered his head with a somber expression, as if being pulled into some distant memory. Layla was slightly taken aback. Oh, did I ask something too personal? But it's time for me to enter the final stage of healing his pain, confronting the root cause, and overcoming the pain it brings. In Sion's case, after mentioning his family, we should stop talking about this, but perhaps it's still too soon. Losing a family member is more than just painful. This is bad. How do I fix this? I don't know what to do. Should I start babbling about something random before it's too late? Suppressing her panic, she quickly pointed into the distance and exclaimed, "Oh, Sion, look, there's a butterfly." But suddenly Sion spoke up. "I have parents, and besides me, we have 6 siblings. My oldest brother's name is Cajun." As soon as she heard that name, Layla froze. Cajun. I get it now. That's why he got so angry when I mentioned Cajun's name last time. I can't imagine how that must have felt when I mentioned the name of his deceased older brother, the daughter of the enemy who murdered his family. She pressed her lips together tightly, a heavy sense of guilt weighing on her heart. How must he have felt then? Maybe that's why he turned his oldest brother's name into a hero's. Even more painful, I'm a Hindaga. But then Sion's voice pulled her back. After me is my older sister Adele, my sister Ali, my brother Mike, my sister Jay, and Cecile. Oh, Cecile is 2 years older than me, but I've never called her older sister. Actually, she's more like a friend or a younger sister, since Cajun was 9 years older than me, and dreamed of opening a vegetable soup shop. And when Adele and Adley teased him that he would definitely fail, Sion would come and comfort him, only to then ask to have the carrots left out of his soup because he really hated them. So Mike often imagined forcing Sion to eat carrots whenever they argued. Sion paused for a moment, turning to look at her as if to say something, but in that instant, his expression suddenly changed. His eyes widened as if he had just realized something. With tears welling up in her eyes and her heart full of emotion, Layla spoke hesitantly. "What is it? Just say it." Layla regained her composure, but she couldn't help but feel bewildered. Why does my voice sound like this? My nose is all runny, like I'm catching a cold. Oh gosh." She quickly wiped it and explained, I just got some pollen in my eyes. I guess there's a lot of it here since we're surrounded by flowers, huh?" Trying to shake off the strange feeling, she asked curiously, "So what about Cecile? Was she close to everyone? Did she like carrots?" Sion remained silent, not answering. Layla asked again, "So, do you like carrots?" "I don't hate them." Layla was a bit surprised. "Really? Then I'll make you a carrot cake. Mary will teach me the best recipe. What were your parents like?" "What about your siblings?" "About my parents." As I asked, Sion began to speak again, in a calmer tone. Throughout the entire conversation, his gaze remained steadily focused on me. As I listened to Sion's story, I occasionally had to wipe away the tears rolling down my cheeks. "There's so much pollen, it's really a nuisance." Layla focused on the stories Sion was telling. "I should find a place with less pollen next time." That's what I was thinking when Sion finished his story. Winter had arrived in Hindaga. The winters here were so cold that the snow would just pile up without ever melting. So, once the snow began to fall, I stopped going outside and just stayed inside the castle. Sion also had to stop his training because the grounds were frozen, so we cut back our daily walks to once every 2 days. Gradually, the two of us grew closer. We often went to the library to borrow books, reading them while having evening snacks with Sion, which became our pastime during the long winter we endured. Layla asked Sion softly, "Did you get them all?" Sion replied, "Yeah, let's go." As they were walking down the hall, Layla suddenly froze when she saw something. "What is this? Looks like today isn't our lucky day." In front of them stood Henry and Pablo. Henry sneered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You can't be serious, Layla. You're not actually teaching your slave how to read, are you?" Pablo, standing beside him, also chimed in with a jeer. "What's a slave going to do with a book anyway?" She thought to herself, what a coincidence, running into not just one, but 2 of the Hindagas. She took a step forward and called out, "Henry!" He glared at her. "How dare you not call me brother?" Layla frowned and shot back defiantly. "Instead of worrying about me, why don't you worry about your own problems?" Hearing that, Henry immediately got testy. "What was that?" Layla suddenly shouted. "Your pants are about to split open." "What? Do you think your master's belly is going to get so big this winter that her skin will crack?" "How pathetic, you poor thing." Henry's face flushed with anger. "Are you crazy? What are you talking about?" She burst out laughing triumphantly, and Pablo, standing beside her, chuckled in amusement. "Hey, Henry, to be honest, I think so too. Layla's not wrong, you know?" Without a word, Henry angrily punched Pablo. "You bastard!" Layla was secretly pleased. "Perfect! The result is just as I thought." She quickly turned and pulled Sion away, thinking to herself, "Consider this your punishment for always teasing Sion, but they won't retaliate today, will they? Like Tommy did." She pulled Sion into a hidden corner. "No, Tommy definitely knew she was summoned by my father, and she's terrified of my father. Come to think of it, I was also very scared of him until not too long ago. I think I felt that way when I asked Mary's sister last time. When did that change?" She turned to look at Sion, and smiled softly. "Well, it doesn't really matter that much." Layla stretched out on the bed, her voice more relaxed. "Sion, what kind of snacks do you want? Don't you want anything specific, or should I just decide for you?" Sion glanced at her for a moment, then suddenly asked, "Is your relationship with your brothers not good?" Hearing that, Layla became slightly embarrassed. Sion asked again, "How bad is it?" Layla answered decisively, her voice full of bitterness. Those bastards would try to harm me without batting an eye. They wouldn't shed a single tear if they heard I was dead. Sion looked at her thoughtfully and then asked, "Is there not a single brother in this castle that you have a good relationship with?" "Not a single one." Layla clutched the pillow in her arms, her voice dropping. "There's no one on my side." She buried her face in the pillow, unable to help feeling regret. "Maybe I shouldn't have said that. If he asks what it means, I'm not ready to say it yet." Sion was silent, just watching her. Suddenly, he spoke up, "I want to eat carrot cake and lemonade." Layla was startled. "What?" But she immediately recovered. "Carrot cake? Was the one I made for you last time good?" Sion replied. "Yeah." "Really? So should I make it for you again today?" Sion shook his head. "Let's eat one made by someone else today." Layla replied cheerfully. "Got it, let's do it." Sion watched her and thought to himself, "That sounds delicious." Then he smiled softly. Winter passed faster than expected, and the snow on the training grounds melted quickly. My relationship with Sion was getting better and better, but why did this villain have to come looking for me? It was none other than Marquis Hindaga. His face was cold as he asked, "Do you know why I summoned you?" Layla thought to herself, "I don't know. Is it because I fought with Henry a few days ago? Should I just get on my knees and apologize first?" Suddenly Marquis Hindaga said, "Time is almost up. Before the deadline you mentioned passes, you promised to give me something in exchange for that slave. I believe it's time for you to fulfill that promise." Oh, so that's what he meant. The thing that I promised. To give the villain in exchange for getting Sion. She tried to recall the conversation from back then. Within this year, I can give you a prophecy, father. I actually have prophetic dreams, about one time each year. It usually comes true. I wasn't going to tell anyone, because I'd get in trouble if I revealed the dream's contents. If you give Sion to me, I will tell you about that prophetic dream, father, Layla recalled. That's what I said, something I made up on the spot because the situation was urgent. But that was late spring and now early spring is approaching. The time has come to reveal the prophecy. Count Hindaga asked, "Have you had the dream yet?" She nodded. "I have. Of course I have to say something that will please him." She hesitated for a moment, then spoke. Countess Coriona and her husband. At the training grounds, Taylor and Sion were practicing when Layla ran over. Taylor saw her and asked, "Lady Layla, what brings you here? It's still cold out." She hesitated. "I was just bored." Taylor chuckled, his voice full of teasing. "Are you bored because Sion isn't around?" Layla blushed in embarrassment. "No." She turned to look at Sion, thinking to herself, to be more precise, I could say I missed him, the person I saved by even mentioning a prophecy to the villain. Unconsciously, Sion's gaze also turned to her, his cheeks flushing slightly. Taylor witnessed the scene and smiled slyly. "So should I give him to you for today?" Layla asked. "There's still a lot of time left until the training session ends, isn't there?" Taylor snatched the training sword from Sion's hand and replied nonchalantly, "That's right, but since you came all the way out here in this weather, Sion can't focus on his training." Taylor laughed and suddenly pushed Sion towards Layla. "I guess that's true, so go on and be together." Sion was pushed towards Layla, causing the two of them to stand unconsciously close. They looked at each other shyly, and Sion flinched and stepped back. Layla frowned at Taylor suspiciously. "Don't come crying to me later that Sion has been taken away." Taylor said firmly, "I won't do that, I swear." "Then we'll be going." "Yes, please be careful, my lady." The two of them left together. Sion walked silently beside her for a moment, his eyes fixed on her. Suddenly he spoke up, "Is something wrong with you?" Layla was slightly surprised. "Huh? You came outside even though you hate the cold, and you're only wearing this." Layla stammered. "Oh," she quickly explained, "I really was just bored, so I came to the training grounds. There's nothing wrong with me." But she thought to herself, there's no need to say I came to see him. More importantly, you. Why did he do that at the training grounds? At that moment, did he really hate being near me? There's no need to ask him about it. Sion asked curiously, "More importantly what?" Layla quickly dodged. "It's nothing." The two entered the castle, but neither said another word. Layla was lost in her own thoughts. He still doesn't want to touch me because this is the enemy's castle, and I am the daughter of the enemy. However, if he hates me so much, why did he wipe my tears back then? When they reached her room, Layla said softly, "I'm a little tired, so I'll go in first. Good night." She didn't wait for his reply and quickly closed the door. Once inside, Layla slumped to the floor, scolding herself. "What's wrong with me? Why am I acting like such a child?" Sion stopped his training and came out for me, yet I just sent him away like this. It's clear the cold wind is making me feel unwell. That's right, it's all the weather's fault. She climbed into bed and pulled the blanket over her face. Maybe I'm catching a cold. I need to get to sleep quickly. But as soon as she drifted off to sleep, an image of Sion appeared. He stood before her, a gentle smile on his face. "Layla, you miss me, don't you?" Layla woke up with a start, her heart pounding. What was that? She sat bolt upright, looking around in confusion. A dream. Then she flopped back onto the bed, her forehead feeling hot. On the bedside table was a glass of warm water that Maria had prepared. "I am going to lose my mind. I am having so many awful dreams because of this cold. This is crazy." She forced herself to sit up and took a big gulp from the warm glass of water. "Pull yourself together. Stay focused." Phew. It is just so cold. I will be fine by tomorrow, but still, why can I not sleep? The next morning at the castle, maids were gathered in a corner of the hallway, whispering. Have you heard the rumor? You mean the one about Count Corona? The Count and his wife were thought to have died from an illness, but they were actually poisoned. They say Count Corona's own daughter was the one who did it. I cannot believe he would become the Count that way. On top of that, they say the one who spread the rumor is the daughter of Baron Aston, the youngest one, and that they are having an illicit affair. A male servant chimed in. Either way, it seems the nobility are all the same. The maid beside him quickly warned, "Wait, the young lady is coming." As Layla walked by, they immediately bowed. She thought, what a provocative story. The story spread so quickly, and now everyone is buzzing about it. She approached the door and knocked gently. "Father, it is Layla." A voice answered from within. "Come in." Entering the room, she thought to herself, with society in an uproar over what I said, he called for me right away. Still, he probably does not completely trust my abilities yet. I am sure of it. Marquis Hindaga spoke. "Your prophetic dream came true." "Yes." Layla tried to remain calm. He must still be suspicious, wondering if I got the information from another source. Actually, from my point of view, that might be for the best. It is better than him trying to figure out how I have these prophetic dreams. Marquis Hindaga said, "By the way, you do not seem to be injured at all. You said that if you revealed your prophetic dream, you would be harmed." She replied, "The injuries only happen after the events of the dream come to pass." She thought to herself, "Looks like I will have to take a tumble down the stairs soon." Is that so? Yes, it is nothing serious. It is not enough to be life-threatening." He was silent for a moment, then said softly, "I understand. By the way, your birthday is in 1 week. Think about what you would like for a birthday gift." Layla bowed respectfully. "Yes, father." The day of Layla's birthday arrived, and the servants bustled about preparing for the trip. Taylor said brightly, "My lady, I am deeply honored to be chosen as your escort. I will protect you with everything I have. Yes, I understand how you feel. Now, let us get in the carriage." "Yes, my lady." Afterward, once Sen and Layla were settled in the carriage, Taylor happily struck up a conversation. "It seems the Duke has great faith in you, since he said you just need to be back before spring ends." "Oh, really?" he added enthusiastically. "Otherwise, there is no way he would have permitted such a long trip, even if it is a birthday present. He must be indulging me because I have become a little useful, not because he trusts me, but I am still glad to have this chance." Taylor asked, "Do you have any plans for what you'll do in the capital?" "I've asked some people in the capital about good restaurants. I'm not sure, but right now I'm thinking of starting at the library." "You mean the National Library? I heard it's huge and has an extensive collection, along with an impressive building." Layla replied, "Yes, I think it'll be a lot of fun." She thought, "However, since we'll be staying in the capital together for a while, I should probably get something out in the open. Right, Sir Taylor? I have something I want to tell you." "Yes, my lady, please tell me anything. Except if you're about to say you want to explore the capital's nightlife, that's a bit too soon for you, my lady," Layla said. "Actually, the fact that Sion can't speak is a lie." Taylor was astonished to hear this, his mouth agape as he looked at Sion. "Is that true? He's never spoken to me," Layla replied. "Well, to be precise, initially he couldn't speak for a while due to shock, but now he can. I told Sion to only speak when he's alone with me." "What? Why?" "Because I really like his voice, and if anyone else heard it, I might get jealous." Layla looked at Sion and Taylor and wondered if she had said that too casually. Sir Taylor must be thinking some strange things right now, huh? Contrary to her thoughts, Taylor tilted his head and smiled. "I see. I understand how you feel, my lady." She was surprised. "What? Oh, thank you. Is that all?" He hesitated. "So, is this supposed to be a secret then? I mean, that Sion can actually talk?" "Yes. You'll keep this a secret, right? I won't breathe a word of this to anyone." "Thank you. And there's one more thing I want to say. Everyone treats Sion as if he's my servant, but I consider him a friend. So Sion, would you call me by my name?" Sion immediately called out, "Layla." Taylor's jaw dropped when he heard it. Layla thought to herself, it seems that no matter how hard Taylor tries, he's finding this hard to accept. Taylor suddenly exclaimed, "His voice is incredible. Now I understand how the lady feels even more. I will keep this secret. Is that all?" "How could I dare go against an order from my lady?" She silently agreed. "That's true, but I also want to have a conversation with Sion, when it's just us." "Is that possible?" Layla replied. "No, it's not impossible, but I'm not sure if Sion can show enough respect to you, Sir Taylor." Taylor turned to him with sparkling eyes and said, "Sion, call my name." Sion just bowed his head in silence. He looked a bit shyly at Taylor's sparkling eyes and then called out, "Taylor." This completely shocked him. "What? You're not even going to call me master? How can you be my master if you haven't taught me anything?" Taylor retorted. "But you learned swordsmanship from me." "That was mostly self-taught." "Hey," Layla suddenly said, "Sir Taylor, you don't really seem much like a knight." She thought, no, or rather, he doesn't seem like a nobleman at all. Taylor answered, flustered, "I was taught that a knight is someone who wields a sword to protect the weak, and Sion will be just that." Taylor signaled to whisper to Layla, and he murmured, "He'll stand in a position that I'll have to look up to later. I'd bet my entire fortune on it." Lola's jaw dropped in amazement. "At this point, you really sound like some kind of prophet, Taylor." "Sir Taylor, how much is your fortune worth? Are you sure you want to settle that first?" "I'll arrange everything and inform you soon, my lady." She smiled and said, "Just kidding." At the National Library, Lola looked around and exclaimed, "This place is huge. This is the lobby, and there's even a restaurant inside," she thought happily. "This is great. By the end of spring, no, I'll be able to finish the entire list in just a few days." She announced, "I'm staying at the library until it closes." Taylor was shocked. "What? No matter how much you love books." She put a finger to her lips and whispered, "This is a library. Be quiet. You two don't have to stay here with me. Just come back before closing time." "Really?" And Silent agreed with Layla. "All right. You go do what you want to do. I'll take care of what I need to, so don't worry about me." Layla wondered, "What?" Silent didn't answer her and just turned and walked away, leaving Taylor and Layla dumbfounded. A moment later, Taylor scratched his head and said, "Well, all right, if that's the case, maybe I should get some reading done. I'm not about to go out alone without any sense of responsibility." Layla replied, "No, I really don't mind, you know." She thought of the gemstone that helped her reincarnate. "I've already shared the secret with Sir Taylor that Sion can talk, and there's only one reason I came to the National Library. The library at the Hindaga estate has no documents about the return stone, but I'm sure that this place, the largest resource in the kingdom, will have some information about it." Layla bribed a noble lady to get into the restricted room, and for those without authorization, the archives forbid entry to anyone without authorization. But with a little finesse, it wasn't hard to get access. It turned out to be easier than I thought, but browsing through 10,000 catalogs was truly exhausting. At first, I felt like my eyes were going to fall out, and time passed so slowly. I nodded off a few times, lay on the floor, I even slapped my own cheeks and kept trying to search the catalogs day and night for 4 days. She dejectedly returned the book to the shelf. "There are no clues at all. Could I have misunderstood something? All the books in the kingdom are supposed to be here. Is it possible there isn't even a single book about the return stone? If it's a forbidden book, it definitely wouldn't be displayed here, but I don't think a book about the return stone would be forbidden." Layla walked out of the restricted stacks and sighed. What a waste of effort. Even though I didn't go through the documents, it's not like there are no other ways to find the information. For example, I could ask the Information Guild for help, or try to contact the family that stole the return stone. But doing that would only make the bad guys suspicious immediately. I've already attracted attention as it is, so there's no need to make myself stand out even more. Actually, I don't need to know everything about the return stone. What I really want to find out is how many times I can go back, and whether there's a limit to the rebirths. Would it still happen even if I died of old age? The second part doesn't matter, but the first part. As long as I don't die, everything will be fine. Sion won't kill me, and maybe, just maybe. Suddenly, a voice called out, startling her. "Lady Layla," she asked in a panic. "What are you doing here, Taylor? I just called your name." "I kept it quiet since this is a library. Why did you call me? Are you leaving the library early today? You're going out even though it's not mealtime?" She shook her head and said, No, I was just looking around. I'm going back to the Hindaga estate now." "To the Hindaga estate when you've practically hung a sign saying you're doing business here?" She was flustered. "Does it really look like that? My lady, you came all the way to the capital, and now you're saying you'll just hole up in the library for a few days and then go back?" Layla asked back, "Yes, what about it?" Taylor mumbled, "This is absurd. We can't go back like this. My lady, please reconsider." No, she asked worriedly. "Sir Taylor, are you okay?" He replied, "It's nothing. I'm fine. Please wait a moment." Sion, seeing this, asked curiously, "What's wrong?" Perhaps the suggestion that we return to the Hindaga estate was a bit too much of a shock. He suddenly ran off. Taylor came back with a stack of books in his hands. "My lady, I've borrowed these." "He's back. What on earth are you talking about?" he replied. "I'm going to borrow these books and read them outside the library. It will probably take at least 1 week. We'll have to stay in the capital for at least 1 more week." Sion and Layla looked at him with speechless expressions. "All right, but please be quiet in the library." In the library's dining hall, Layla thought, after witnessing Sir Taylor's sudden actions, we decided to stay in the capital for another week. As he wished, I could have wandered around alone, but I'm thankful to Sir Taylor for staying with me out of loyalty. On second thought, maybe this is for the best. There's no need to rush into the villain's den right now. Maybe I'm still afraid that even the smallest action could attract his attention. I already got permission, so what am I afraid of? If I have some free time, I should enjoy it a little. Taylor looked around and remarked, "But my lady, this place feels less like a restaurant and more like a party." Layla agreed, "You're right. It seems the other guests here feel the same way." What do you mean?" Suddenly, a voice rang out, catching Layla's attention. "Excuse me, I am Beria Sershan, from the baronial family of Sershan. May I ask which family you belong to, young sir? If it's not too much trouble, I would like to invite you to dinner tonight." Taylor looked at her in astonishment, while Sion and Layla remained silent. Taylor had no choice but to explain, "I'm sorry, but this child is unable to speak for psychological reasons. I hope you can understand." Beria was shocked. "Oh my, I apologize." Then she walked away, looking back at Sion. Layla saw this and thought Sion didn't even glance at her. Taylor suddenly said, "The young lady who just left was the 31st one." She wondered, "Huh?" He replied, "There were 30 young ladies who came to talk to him after staring at Sion in the library." Layla was shocked. "What?" she wondered to herself. 31 young ladies have talked to Sion? Of course, it's true that Sion is incredibly handsome, but Sion is. Layla suddenly blushed, scolding herself internally for what she was thinking. I was wrong to think that just because Sion was treated like a servant at Hindaga, everyone else would see him that way too. I believed I was the only one who could see how special Sion was, but that's impossible. Sion looked at her with a puzzled expression. Taylor remarked, "Our Sion is really handsome, isn't he? I even get a little jealous sometimes." Layla didn't answer, so he asked awkwardly, "Was that not a very funny joke? Well then, shall we order?" Layla nodded, thinking disappointedly, "The menu here isn't really grabbing me." The waiter asked, "Are you ready to order?" Layla replied, "If you have a recommended special, could I ask what it is?" "Of course." "Then 3 portions of that, and if you have carrot cake, I'll take that as well." "Very good." Taylor suddenly exclaimed, "Carrot cake? That really suits you." "Yes, carrots in general," she asked in surprise. "Huh? Why is that?" "Because you look like a rabbit." Layla hesitated. "A rabbit? I don't have white hair or pink eyes, and my front teeth aren't big. It's just the vibe you give off. Little rabbits are cute and gentle, right? Rabbits aren't that gentle. They're actually quite good at biting fingers." Hearing this, Sion imagined a little pink rabbit angrily biting someone's finger. Layla asked, "Have you ever raised a rabbit?" Layla nodded, and he asked again, "When?" She thought, "It was before I was reincarnated, so it was a long time ago." Layla replied, "A very long time ago. I'm curious what its name was." She answered, "Terizabet." Taylor burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha, that's a good one." Taylor asked again, "You're not joking, are you?" She answered flatly, "No, I'm sorry, but why on earth would you name a rabbit that?" Layla retorted angrily, "Oh yeah, so what would you have named it? Have you ever even had a rabbit? Have you ever named a rabbit before?" Taylor scratched his head and answered, "No." "Then don't you dare criticize it." "Yes, I'm sorry." Sion suddenly burst out laughing. Layla called out in shock, "Sion." She thought to herself, "Terizabet? Is it really such a weird name that even Sion would laugh? I didn't think it was a great name, but still." Just then, the waiter arrived and said, "Here are the dishes you ordered." Layla looked at the food on the table and thought, "The plating is so exquisite, it must be because we're in the capital. I hope it tastes as good as it looks." She saw Sion taking a bite of the carrot cake and asked, "How is it? Is this one better or is mine?" But everything went silent. Suddenly, Sion took a piece of the carrot cake, held the fork towards Layla, and said, "Say ah." She blushed in surprise, then shyly ate the piece of cake Sion offered her. After she did, he asked again, "Which one do you think is better?" Layla answered, "The one I make." Sion smiled softly and added, "I think so too." Layla was stunned, shyly looking down as she thought, "So he's saying mine tastes better." Seeing her get all flustered, Taylor had an idea, "My lady. No matter what anyone says, I am Sion's master." "Huh, what? Why are you bringing that up all of a sudden?" "My lady, I'm also the knight who is closest to you in the ducal residence. What's this all about? Next time, you absolutely must invite me to eat with you too." "What are you talking about? I'll be sure to join no matter what." She pushed some food to Taylor with her plate and ordered, "Just eat in silence." She blushed, thinking to herself, "What I mean is I don't understand what he's saying." That evening in her hotel room, Layla sighed, "Oh, this feels so refreshing. I was following Sir Taylor all day, so I'm pretty exhausted. Anyway, I should finish reading this and return it today." She recalled when Taylor asked, "Are you planning to check if I read it correctly?" "Do you really have to do that?" she said slyly. "I order you to let go." Sir Taylor, Layla thought, if he's going to use this book as an excuse, he'll have to face the consequences. Let's see. My wonderful experiences. Is this a travelogue? She quickly opened it and flipped through the pages. She thought to herself, this is a fantasy novel disguised as a travel story. I'd believe it if someone said this story was just written down from a dream. Because of that, it's actually not boring at all. The story goes, this is a tale from when I was very young. I had just begun my journey and was climbing Mount Kapala, which is famous for its rugged terrain. At that time, I discovered someone hanging from a cliff with all their strength. I pulled him up. The explorer recounted. He kept thanking me, but when I looked at his face, I was shocked. His eyes held 2 different worlds. In one eye was the sea, and in the other was the Sunday. He wanted to tell me his story as his life savior, and I sat there completely unaware of time passing, listening intently to his stories. He said that he was on a journey to find a strange object created by his ancestors, one that represented his people. Then, with a deep sigh, he told me about the kind of object he was searching for. The object he was looking for was a small stone, and he claimed that it had the ability to reverse time. Unbelievable. This is the story of the regression stone, isn't it? Her eyes were filled with astonishment. This is the story of the Stone of Revival. Right, but first I need to calm down and read some more. The book wrote that there was a catch. In order for the stone to turn back time, it had to absorb the life force existing within a human body. If someone under 20 years old swallows the stone, their life force will be sucked out, and their body will dissolve into pieces. He called this phenomenon being devoured by the stone. When I scolded him for making that stone, he got angry and said it wasn't him who created it, but his ancestors. He was planning to find it to destroy it, but the search was too difficult, causing him to sigh in frustration. He also said that the gods in this world are incredibly lazy, so they just want to use things humans created to solve problems, and then pin the blame on the ancestors. He even went as far as to curse the gods. He spoke as if he was being forced to deal with the consequences of his ancestors' actions. He lamented his fate all night before finally standing up. And then, unbelievably, he revived a withered flower before leaving. Layla read on with a voice full of excitement. When the story was over, Layla couldn't help but exclaim, "After all, this is just a novel, but it makes sense, doesn't it?" If these things were real, she placed the book on the table. If these things were real, I would have almost turned to dust. At this thought, Layla suddenly shuddered in fear. In the dream, Layla was sitting next to a drunkard. He said to her, "Hey, let me tell you an interesting story, okay? Asterisk, asterisk. All right, what is it? There's a way to see the sky split in two. Asterisk, asterisk. What way is that? Asterisk, asterisk." He pointed to the sky and said, "On the day the demon seal is broken, the gates of hell will open, and at that moment the sky will split in two for an instant. 15 years from now, you should look at the sky every day." Layla laughed out loud at that. "The sky splitting in two, huh? That really is an interesting story. Here's some money for it," she said, taking out one gold coin to give the drunkard, but the coin unfortunately dropped to the ground. Layla cried out, "Ah, oh no," then bent down to pick up the coin. The sky above her suddenly turned red, and when she looked up, the drunkard was nowhere to be seen anymore, and the sky had truly split apart just as he described. She stammered, the sky has split in two." Layla screamed and then jolted awake from her dream. She panted in fear, "Damn it, that dream again. How many times has it been now?" Asterisk, asterisk. That morning, Layla sat at breakfast, picturing the scene. From her dream, the part where the priest told the author of the book that the sky would split in two. It's so surprising that I could dream of that scene so vividly. Someone's final, mocking words kept ringing in my ears, making it impossible to go back to sleep. Asterisk, asterisk. Layla put her plate down and spoke up. "Once everyone is done eating, may I be excused?" Asterisk, asterisk. Taylor looked at Layla's untouched plate of pasta and replied, "My lady, you haven't finished eating yet. I didn't get enough sleep, so I'm not hungry. Eating more will just make my stomach feel heavy. Oh, and by the way, Sir Taylor, you have good taste in books." "Yes. Are you complimenting me, my lady?" Asterisk, asterisk. Layla could only sigh in resignation. Ha, she didn't bother talking to Taylor anymore, and walked up the stairs, sighing to herself as she went, "Oh, my head, maybe a warm cup of tea will help." But when she reached her room, she thought lazily, "Nah, calling someone is too much of a hassle. I'll probably feel better if I just rest for a bit." Layla flopped onto the soft bed. "I can't believe I'm actually craving Mary's special health tea right now." As she was lost in thought, there was a knock at the door. She asked, "Who is it?" Asterisk, asterisk. Son's voice replied, "It's me. May I come in?" Hearing it was Son, Layla quickly sat up, fixing her hair as she answered, "Son? Yeah, come in." "It's fine." Asterisk, asterisk. Son entered carrying a tea tray and walked over to the bedside. Layla went over and asked, "What is this?" Asterisk, asterisk. Son replied softly, "It's a tea to help with fatigue." "For fatigue?" Asterisk, asterisk. "I'll just set the tray on the table. You looked a bit tired." Asterisk, asterisk. Layla understood with an ah and took the cup he handed her. "Also, later when we go to see the play, if we have time, would you like to go pillow shopping?" Layla thought to herself, "Why a pillow all of a sudden?" Asterisk, asterisk. But she didn't ask and just replied, Sure, that's fine, since I was planning on touring the capital anyway." "All right, you should get some rest then. I'll come get you before we leave." Asterisk, asterisk. Layla waved and replied, "Okay, see you later." After Son left, Layla sat there wondering to herself, why did he suddenly suggest buying a pillow? Does he think my pillow is uncomfortable? I think it's fine. He even brought tea to help with my fatigue. He doesn't normally do this kind of thing. Oh, maybe he thought I couldn't sleep because of the pillow, which is why he asked me to go buy one. I'll have to make it clear later that it's not the pillow's fault I can't sleep. Ah, how cute. But Layla's hand froze in midair, startled by her own thought. She mumbled, "Why is Sion so cute? Is it okay for him to be this cute? I guess it's not impossible. The tea is sweet and delicious too, so let's just say he's cute." 4 hours later, Layla, Sion, and Taylor had just finished watching the play. In the theater, everyone burst into applause, and Layla and Taylor were no exception. "My lady, how did you find the play?" It was very interesting." "Then as promised, you'll only read half the book." Layla recalled the deal she had made with Taylor the other day, when Taylor had made an earnest promise that if the play she recommended was interesting. Thinking of this, Layla could only reply nonchalantly, "Fine." Then she turned and asked, "What did you think of the play?" "It was interesting." Seeing Sion's completely emotionless reply, Layla's eyes widened as she wondered, does Sion just not smile much? Or is it because he's depressed? So if he gets cured of this depression, will I be able to see him smile brightly? Can that illness even be completely cured? If so, how long would it take? Maybe I just want to see Sion smile like a normal kid, a boy who can express his emotions, crying or laughing over little things just like everyone else. Noticing Layla staring at him without saying anything, Sion asked, "Layla, is something wrong?" She turned away shyly and replied, "No, it's nothing." Suddenly, a voice piped up. "I heard that Countess Donovan also invested in this play, right?" Hearing this, Layla's attention was piqued, and she thought to herself, "Countess Donovan?" The people in the row ahead were saying to each other, "The playwright is a newcomer," so I was a bit worried. It turns out I was worried for nothing. The woman beside her replied, "As expected, the plays that Countess Donovan invests in never fail. It's not for nothing that she's called God's Eyes, is it?" Another woman laughed and said, "I'm sure the Countess is here to watch today, right?" She said she wouldn't miss any of the performances during the first 2 weeks of a play she invested in. The woman in the black dress then suggested, "Then should we go and greet the Countess?" "That's a great idea." Suddenly at that moment, Layla leaned forward and said, "Excuse me for interrupting." The woman jumped, exclaiming, "Oh my." Layla introduced herself. "I am Layla Hindaga, from the house of Marquis Hindaga. When you go to greet Countess Donovan, may I accompany you?" In the theater staff's waiting room, Layla sat enjoying tea and pastries while waiting for the Countess. Recalling the curious looks on the 3 ladies she had just asked for a favor and how they kept asking her, "It seems you two have something private to discuss, don't you? Just leave it to us." Layla suddenly felt that in moments like this, the Marquis title was quite useful. Thanks to their enthusiastic help, I got the chance to meet the Countess in private. But how could I have forgotten that name? Of all people, how could I forget? Just then, the Countess finally emerged. Layla stood up, thinking, "She's here." The Countess spoke. "Lady Layla Hindaga." Layla bowed and said, "I am Layla Hindaga of the Marquis Hindaga family. It's a pleasure to meet you. I am Elise Donovan." Elise sat down and said, "This is the first time we've met, lady, but I heard you had something you absolutely had to tell me. I'm quite curious. Would you mind telling me what it is?" Layla sat down, was silent for a moment, and then began her story. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful swan with magnificent and special silver feathers, and its only friend was a human. The human was enchanted by the swan's beauty and pursued it relentlessly, and eventually, they became the closest of friends. The human treated the swan very well, but at some point, the human began to pluck the swan's feathers without its consent. The swan endured the immense pain, thinking that the human would eventually stop, but one day, while it was still trying to endure, the human slit the swan's belly open. Layla stopped her story there and looked at Elise. Elise asked in confusion, "Lady, this story?" Layla continued earnestly, "Countess, I'm begging you, please divorce the Count." After she spoke, Layla thought to herself, "The silver swan in the story I told Countess Donovan is her. She is known as a beautiful countess, with sparkling silver eyes, and the unfortunate woman who dies young from an illness. In reality, before I became the second Countess Donovan, she was beaten to death by the Count." The next day, Layla sat at a bakery with Sion and Taylor, looking completely out of it. "My lady, shall we order some gingerbread?" Layla just gave a soft and drifted back into her thoughts. "When I found out the truth, I was determined to deal with Count Donovan, yet now I've completely forgotten about it as if it weren't my problem." Taylor held up the menu again, asking, "Or should we not order anything?" Layla gave another empty and thought, if not for this chance meeting today, she would have met the same end as before. Not getting a satisfactory answer, Taylor asked again, "How about we just buy this shop?" He said this while pointing at the bakery, causing the waitress carrying a cake to drop her jaw. And yet, Layla just replied softly with a single word, Worries kept swirling in Layla's mind. "Please, understand the meaning of my story and run away." Taylor finally noticed Layla's strange behavior and shouted, "Oh no, Sion's in danger." Out of habit, she responded urgently, "What? Sion, run!" When she turned to look at Sion, she realized she had been tricked. What the heck? Nothing was wrong at all, and Sion was sitting right beside her completely unharmed. Furious from being teased, Layla shot daggers at Taylor. "Sir Taylor, that joke was out of line. My apologies, it's just that it wasn't Sion who looked to be in danger. But you, me, in danger? What happened at the opera house that has you so spaced out?" Completely flustered, Layla stammered. "Well," Taylor asked again, "is it something you can't tell us? I just ran into an acquaintance, that's all. I didn't expect to see her, so I was a bit surprised." Sion, who had been silent this whole time, suddenly spoke. "Who did you meet?" She was a bit startled and exclaimed, "Huh?" Sion repeated seriously, "I asked who you met." Faced with Sion's serious expression, Layla had to answer, "Lady Donovan." His eyes suddenly changed. "Donovan? Do you know them?" Realizing his reaction was a bit extreme, Sion stammered his reply. "No, he doesn't know." Layla thought to herself as she looked at Sion, "I wonder why he's reacting that way. Besides, he looks a little sad. There's no way Sion would know Lady Donovan. It must be my own mood that's accidentally affecting him." Taylor suddenly said, "If you're talking about Countess Donovan, then she's definitely famous. I heard her hobby is investing in plays, and she's never failed a single time. She's an absolute legend. And she's also famous for being a great beauty. They say she has gorgeous silver eyes." Layla was surprised by how knowledgeable Taylor was. "You know a surprising amount about rumors, don't you? Especially since you look like you'd only be interested in swordsmanship. But you're actually quite interested in high society, aren't you?" Taylor blushed. "You're right, my lady. Actually, I'm not that interested in high society. ***. Oh really? ***. It's true, my comrades tell me all these rumors during training, so that's how I ended up knowing." Sion, sitting beside her, just silently glanced at Layla, who replied, "Yeah, I know." But afraid Layla still didn't believe him, he continued to explain, "If you hear the same rumor over and over again, you can't help but know it. I really only know about swordsmanship, my lady." She laughed and replied, I believe you. I'm not saying anything." The next day, Layla went to see the previous day's play again, because during the show, she had been distracted after hearing about Alice, preventing her from fully enjoying the ending. Watching it again this time, she thought, The afterglow is truly so profound. I cried at the powerful emotions I'd missed on the first day. From that day on, she became completely captivated by plays and started watching every single one in the capital. But to Layla, the first play she saw remained the best, but by the fourth day, after watching her seventh play, she had completely lost interest. Sion and Taylor could only laugh helplessly. That's what happens when you get overstimulated. While walking down the street, Layla suddenly spotted a pitiful-looking little girl selling circus tickets, so she decided to go to the circus. But the performance was so dreadfully boring that both Taylor and Sion agreed with her statement, that she would never watch it again. And yet, the next day, she met the little circus ticket girl again and, feeling sorry for her, bought all the tickets. However, she didn't want to waste her time, so she didn't go see it. But then on the following day, the little girl was selling twice as many tickets as before. She muttered to herself, "This is all my fault for helping her." Since things had come to this, there was no other choice, so without a second thought, she had Taylor and Sion storm in and deal with that shady circus. She yelled, "Go all out! The owner here is an illegal human trafficker." To wrap things up quickly, she had the circus owner, who was also the trafficker, thrown in jail. The chief of the police station seemed to be in an awkward position, as he had taken a lot of bribe money from the trafficker, but the power of a marquis's daughter ranked far above money. The little ticket seller turned out to be an orphan who was kidnapped from outside the capital, and the case was closed, with the girl being taken to a royal orphanage. It had been 7 days since Taylor borrowed the book from the National Library. After returning the book to the library, Taylor cheerfully said, "My lady, I will never forget this favor." Asterisk, asterisk. Layla asked blankly, "Huh? What favor?" Asterisk, asterisk. "For allowing me to stay in the capital longer. And let's just ignore the fact that I haven't finished the book." "Ah, no. It's not that I haven't finished it. It's that I haven't read a single page. You know, this is all a debt now, right?" Taylor knew he couldn't keep his promise, so he happily went along with Layla. He said, "You can order me to do anything." While Taylor was incredibly enthusiastic, Layla was plotting something mischievous to make him suffer. "I can forgive Sir Taylor for telling me about the resurrection stone, but the price for daring to mock the name Torazabet won't be cheap. Let me think carefully about what to order him to do." After thinking, she said, "So, shall we head back to the Marquise's mansion now?" "Yes, I'm very sorry, but..." Hearing Taylor say that, Layla thought to herself, "Don't be sad, Sir Taylor. Even if we wanted to stay, we're out of money. The original plan was to go back right away, so I thought this much would be enough." Luckily, it was just in time. The three of them walked to the hotel door. Just as they opened the door, they saw Alice had been standing there for who knows how long. Taylor was surprised. "Countess, why are you here?" Alice calmly replied, "If you have a moment, could you spare some time for me?" Afterwards, Layla entered a private room and sat across from Alice. The waiter politely said, "I hope you have a pleasant conversation." Now, only she and Alice were in the room. She broke the silence. "This is a place I often come to when meeting important guests. The tea's flavor is also decent and it guarantees privacy." Layla looked around and replied, "It certainly seems so." Alice was silent for a moment, then continued, "I have so many things I want to tell you, miss, but I don't know where to begin." "Please, speak freely. I can wait. Thank you. Then shall we start with the story from that day?" She began to tell her story. "After my conversation with you that day, miss, I was very confused. My first thought was, how could she have known? The truth is, I had a bruise on my face that day. It was from my husband hitting me the night before. I couldn't cancel the performance, so I covered it with thick makeup, but when I looked in the mirror, I saw the makeup was still perfectly intact. So what could have been the problem? Could it be that I somehow revealed a sign of being hit? Was it because I was unconsciously flinching? Or I thought perhaps someone in the mansion had said something, so I spent several days trying to find the culprit. But around noon yesterday, after reluctantly finishing my meal and taking a walk in the garden, I saw a bird that had fallen at the base of a tree. The bird seemed to be badly injured. I tried to treat it, but it avoided my hand and flew away. Even though it was severely hurt, it still flew away. Looking at that bird, I had an epiphany. Even that tiny bird ran away to avoid someone who might harm it. And what was I doing? It was so foolish. Then I realized all my suspicions and worries from before had become meaningless. I could only remember your despairing expression, miss. It was so moving that you made that face for my sake. Therefore, I decided to run away before I had to pay the price. Thank you, miss. This decision is all thanks to you." "Not at all. Layla was about to refuse Alice's thanks when she stood up and came to sit next to Layla. She placed her hand on Layla's and said, "Miss, you are my benefactor. If you ever need help, please come to Viscount Liam's estate at any time. I will welcome you. I swear it on my honor." Hearing this, Layla's face flushed red. She lowered her head shyly and replied, "Yes, I will definitely visit. I saved a person." Saving people, this is something a Hindaga would never do. So in this moment, I decided that I wasn't a Hindaga, even if only for a moment. I believe even God would forgive me for this. Even though I'm a Hindaga, I pretended I wasn't. At that moment, her heart was overflowing with a mix of joy and sorrow, her eyelashes already wet with tears. On the way back, sitting in the carriage, Layla unconsciously asked Taylor, "Mr. Taylor, do you know what it feels like to save someone?" Taylor answered immediately without a second thought, Yes, I do. I've saved a lot of people." "Really?" Then she mumbled to herself, "As I thought, you're not cut out to be a Hindaga." "Taylor, not understanding what she said, replied with wide eyes. Huh? Layla explained. Oh, nothing. I was just talking to myself. Taylor then changed the subject. Hey miss, the next time you go on a trip, please take me with you. Layla asked quizzically. The next trip? Honestly, who's a better fit than me? Someone might be stronger, but no one is both strong and as close to you as I am, miss. Besides, I'm also close with Sion, who's practically a part of you, he said as he slung his arm around Sion's shoulder. Hearing Taylor, Layla stammered. A part of me? Sion turned to glare at Taylor and shrugged his arm off, saying, Who said I'm close to you? Sion, I'm your master, so of course we're close. When did I ever accept you as my master? What are you talking about, Sion? You mean right now I'm just a temporary instructor? Layla, sitting across from them, watched the scene and thought to herself, I heard he was a pain at the library, but this is even worse than before. The thing Taylor cared about most right now was still the trip. Anyway, you're going to take me on the next trip, right? Let's see. Layla pretended to think, while Taylor pouted cutely and whined, Take me with you. Please take me with you. Layla felt sick listening to him and could only agree, I'll take you. Just stop. Sion leaned helplessly against the carriage wall. Taylor, ecstatic that the miss agreed to take him, jumped for joy. Ha ha ha, you promised. Prompted by Taylor, Layla also started to think, By the way, where should we go for the next trip? The north has a long winter. How about we go see the ocean? As Layla pondered, she glanced at Sion, imagining him in a white shirt standing with her on the beach. Just that thought alone made her happy. No sooner said than done, she decided right away. Yep, okay, it's decided. We're definitely going to the beach next time. But what beach? Everything's ruined. I thought the price for a prophetic dream was just a few bruises. Who knew I'd end up with a broken leg? While Layla was lost in thought, Sion came in and asked, Layla, are you thirsty? She answered with a bright smile. I'm fine, Sion. How about a snack? Layla replied again, We have fruit. Then do you need a new bandage? Ah, not yet. She looked at him and thought to herself, But this isn't what I expected, is it? Sion has been by my side taking care of me for days. With my leg broken like this, those villains probably won't doubt my words anymore. Suddenly, Taylor walked in from outside with a large bouquet of flowers. Miss, I'm here. Layla smiled and replied, You're here? In that case, have a safe trip. Goodbye, Taylor asked blankly. Huh? Why are you kicking me out? Layla replied. Hold on, I know what you're about to do. Oh yeah? And what am I about to do? Throwing a fit, demanding your wheelchair back, making a scene in front of the patient, and even stealing the patient's snacks. Want me to go on? Taylor broke out in a cold sweat and quickly replied, Okay, that's enough. I'll behave today and won't cause any trouble. But I'm so bored. Well, just as Layla was about to reply, Mary burst in, interrupting her. Mary brought in a bowl of freshly brewed medicine, the mere sight of which made Layla feel sick to her stomach. Ugh, I suddenly feel sick, Mary. Meanwhile, Taylor had already scurried over to the fruit table, munching away, while no one was looking. Mary remained very firm. No matter what you say, you still have to drink this tea. Just as Mary got closer to hand Layla the medicine, Taylor stopped sneaking his snacks. He scratched his head and greeted her shyly. Hi, Mary. Hello, Sir Taylor. We meet again today. The two of them chattered away as if no one else was there, and Layla thought wearily, is this their personal meeting spot now? They met yesterday, the day before, and even the day before that. Taylor and Mary were like two inseparable lovebirds. Meanwhile, an idea started to form in Layla's mind. Is there somewhere I can pour this tea out? I really should have kept a potted plant here. But Sauron saw right through Layla's little plot. He walked over to her and said, Don't get any funny ideas, just drink it. Caught in the act, Layla flinched and stammered, Gee Gramps, I'm drinking it. Seeing Sauron's killer glare, Layla fearfully downed it in one gulp. His goal achieved, Sauron gave her a gentle smile. Cough, cough, it's so bitter. She choked and coughed from the bitterness, and Sauron held out a cherry. Surprised, Layla let out a little humph. Sauron explained, You said Mary's tea was awful, so eat this. She took the cherry and mumbled, thank you. Looking at his warm, sunny smile, she thought to herself, That's weird. Summer is still far away, so why do I feel so hot all of a sudden? Time flowed on, and soon it was time for Layla's periodic health checkup. After the exam, Dr. Elvin read the results. Your height has increased by 5 centimeters compared to last year, which is up to standard. Your weight is proportional to your height. Your heart rate is stable, and your blood circulation is good. Your body temperature is normal. Congratulations, you are in perfect health this year, Layla replied happily. Thank you. 3 years have flown by. Elvin sat down and said with a smile, Being so diligent with your health checkups at this age, you're probably the only one, my lady. It's just that the wound on your knee will likely leave a scar. But for now, please apply this ointment to keep the scar from spreading wider. Then you can go. As he said this, he suddenly became a little worried for a young girl like her. Layla calmly replied, I know. As Elvin applied the ointment to her leg, he said, Falling down is unavoidable when you're still growing. It's unavoidable, but you've been hurt quite a few times in the past 3 years, haven't you? She replied politely, I will be more careful. It's already been 3 years just like that. Telling villains about the future under the guise of prophecy and getting injured like this. Good thing I'm used to it now, so at least I'm not breaking any bones. I wonder where I'll get hurt next year. I can't just make up any prophecy. They'll keep asking for a while, but I can't remember any other rumors. Oh man, I should have paid more attention to the rumors before I was reborn. No, for now I just have to fake it. Just like how my ability naturally vanished, last year I helped them find the treasure on the abandoned mountain. So I'm sure they won't kick Sion out. They're always so calculating, after all. At that moment, Dr. Elvin finished speaking. Layla quickly said thanks, then hastily jumped off the bed to leave, making Mary worry. My lady, please be careful until you've fully recovered, Elvin reminded her. Ah, my lady? Hearing that, she quickly replied, Huh? Is it about Sion? What's wrong with Sion? Did he say his knees hurt? Knees? I mean his joints. With how fast he's growing, it's impossible for him not to feel some pain. Have you noticed any signs that he's in pain often? Let's see. I'm not really sure. Please try to ask him indirectly, and if he's in pain, bring him to me. He never listens to a word I say. Layla just listened without saying anything, which confused Elvin, so he asked, Why are you looking at me like that? It's nothing, I'll keep an eye on Sion. Yes, my lady, please be careful. As she left the clinic, Layla was lost in thought again. It feels so strange. At first, everyone called Sion a slave, but now the people who call Sion by his name include me, Sir Taylor, Mary, and Elvin. That's 5 people in total. And Mary started calling Sion by his name. After she started getting close to Sir Taylor, it seems she was influenced by him. Could it be she has feelings for him? I wonder if Sir Taylor knows how Mary feels. If things go well, could they start dating? If they're a good match, they might even get married. Marriage, huh? Will I get married too? I always clearly imagined that when I died, I would have a family. I wanted to pass away peacefully, surrounded by my crying children and grandchildren, but after going through so much suffering, now I no longer wish for such a grand ending, and I don't even think about things like funeral music. As long as it's a home, it's fine whether there are people around or not. Wait a second, it would still be better to have Terizabed there. When I'm 90 years old, the original Terizabed probably won't be around anymore, but there will be Terizabed's descendants. Descendants of descendants of descendants. It would be nice to have a husband to take care of the Terizabed family with me, but it's fine if I don't. With this kind of mindset, can I even get married? I guess I'll just live alone. To be fair, I wouldn't be completely lonely, because I'd still have the Terizabed family by my side. Because she was so lost in daydreams about the future, Layla didn't notice Tommy's presence and ended up slamming right into his chest. Tommy was surprised to see her. Layla? His expression immediately turned sour. Where are your eyes? Watch where you're going. After saying that, he hurriedly walked past. Layla wasn't angry. She just thought, what's wrong with him? He's not his usual self. He seems totally out of it. Could he have lost something precious? Thinking that, she glanced back at him and muttered to herself, Oh well, it's none of my business. She returned to her room and sat at the tea table to listen to what Mary had to say. I heard that Angela quit her job. Angela? She asked, surprised. Mary walked over to the chair across from her and continued as she sat down. Young Master Tommy's maid. Oh, I remember now. She's Tommy's personal maid, and that personal maid was even really close to him, seeing the way she had him wrapped around her little finger. I used to think the wolf incident at the lake was her idea too, but that was just a guess. Could that be why Tommy looked so awful today? Is it because she left the castle? After thinking, she asked Mary, So how is Tommy doing? Is he sad? I heard he's been feeling exhausted. I just saw it for myself too. His slumped shoulders look so pitiful. Layla cried out internally. Ugh, pitiful my ass. Whatever, it has nothing to do with me anyway. At that thought, she suddenly choked on her water and spat it all out. She gave a weak laugh. I'm not sure either. Mary cheerfully reminded her, Please drink it all, ma'am. Don't leave a single drop. Yeah, but Mary, has your brother's fever gotten any better? Today is the 4th day. Mary replied, He's doing fine. Thank you for your concern, ma'am. Although she said that, her eyes told a different story, and Layla noticed. She thought, it doesn't seem fine at all. Later, Layla spoke with Taylor in the sword training grounds. Mary has seemed very worried lately. Layla pondered for a moment, then replied, It seems her younger brother's fever still hasn't broken. How can that be? What did Elvin say? He said it was a cold. He's especially weak at night, so the fever always comes back in the evening. It's so strange. He looks like me, but I never get sick. Layla gave a weak laugh. That's because you're especially healthy, Sir Taylor. So we are similar in some way. Suddenly, a loud noise drew the attention of the two. It was the sound of Sion practicing his sword. Layla called out happily, Sion! Sion wiped the sweat from under his chin and walked over, replying, What's up? Do you want to go out with me tomorrow? Hearing her, Taylor immediately asked, Are you planning on going somewhere? I'm planning to buy a little gift for Mary, just going around the territory. I think Elvin will cure Mason soon enough. Anyway, it's a relief that he's slowly recovering. With that thought, she looked up at Sion again. Sion will defeat Hindaga in 7 years. I plan to leave with Mary, Mason, and Elvin before that happens. As long as everyone is healthy by then, it'll be fine. She then asked, Let's go, okay, Sion? He turned his face away and replied, Yeah. Seeing this, Layla thought, Oh, what's this? Why is he avoiding my gaze? Did I do something wrong? Sion's face was all red by now. Taylor cleared his throat. I understand. I'll get ready too. Layla immediately asked, You're planning to go out during the day? Don't you have formal training? Taylor replied innocently, If I sign up as an escort, I'm exempt from training. Are you taking your training lightly? No, if you do that, you'll be weaker than sane. As if understanding his lady's intention, Taylor said, It's okay, I'm already weak. Why are you so confident about that? Are you bragging? Taylor said calmly. This is something everyone has to face, so it's not bragging. What does that mean? It means that no one in this base can beat Sane, and perhaps no one ever could before either. Now it's a certainty, that's why I dare to say it. At this point, Taylor put on a pleading look. Anyway, can I come along tomorrow? Although she didn't want him to, she still agreed. Fine, you can come. Layla looked at Sane and thought to herself, to become the strongest person in this base. That's right, he seemed huge the first time we met, so much so that Elvin was worried. Thinking that, she blurted out a question to Sane. Don't your knees hurt? Hearing his lady's words, Taylor felt his blood pressure drop. Because Dr. Elvin had previously told her to ask Sane tactfully, he never expected her to be so blunt. Hearing Layla's question, Sane replied in confusion. My knees? Layla explained that Elvin told me to ask. Since you grew so fast like him, your knees must hurt for sure. I'm fine, you're the one I should be asking. Ah, I'm fine too, I already told you that. The wound isn't very deep, so it'll heal quickly. But you took a really hard fall back then. I told you I'm fine. She figured she only got hurt because she was with him and drunk. Yes, because that rock was placed in a spot where it was really easy for someone to get hurt. Sauron looked so panicked. Anyone who saw would have thought he was the one who got hurt, not me. He was so worried he bit his lip until it bled. So why, when taking me to the infirmary? Did he call a maid to do it? Did he not want to touch me? Not even to help me up or carry me? It would have been so nice if he had carried me on his back. He could have just carried me. That would have been fine too. But why am I feeling this way? At a music box shop in the territory, Layla, Taylor, and Sion were choosing a gift for Mary when she told the shopkeeper, I'll take that one then. Taylor, standing next to her, asked, You really trust my aesthetic sense, don't you? An excellent choice. Layla replied wearily, If I didn't buy this one, you would have pestered me about it all day. She imagined a scene of Taylor laughing sheepishly while rolling on the floor, demanding she buy his choice. This one is so much prettier. Layla glanced at Taylor and said, Anyway, if Mary doesn't like it, I'll just tell her you picked it. Haha, I'm sure she'll love it. The polite clerk said, Thank you for your business. They left the shop chatting cheerfully. There's a flower shop nearby. What do you think about adding a bouquet of flowers? Layla replied, Great idea, let's go. As they approached the door, the three of them saw a dapper-looking Wynnum step inside. Surprised, Layla called out his name. Wynnum? Lady Layla? Layla looked at him and thought, Where is he going? Is he planning on proposing? Dressed all flashy like that? It's not like he's a peacock. Did you come to buy a music box, my lady? Yes, but it's not for me, it's a gift. Wynnum's eyes lit up, and he quickly asked, Are there any good ones? Can I take a look? No. Sir Taylor already recommended this one to me. Hearing himself mentioned, Taylor immediately raised his hand, but as soon as Wynnum saw him, he replied with a look of disappointment. Oh, I see. Never mind then. Taylor was fuming when he heard that, but couldn't do anything about it. All right, well, see you at the castle then. Wynnum bowed and replied, I hope you have a pleasant time, my lady. Yes, you too, Wynnum. Just as they turned to leave, they ran into the butler, who was also holding a bouquet of roses, and Layla thought, What's going on now? First Wynnum, and now the butler. What is with today? At that moment, she suddenly realized that in the past, this was the exact time when the beautiful Black Widow, the one who caused the tragic deaths of both Wynnum and the butler, made her appearance. What should I do? I don't care what happens to the butler, but to just leave Wynnum to his fate is a bit. He doesn't even get a clean death. His head ends up mounted on the castle wall. That's right. I have to at least help him avoid the worst outcome. He helped me steal the villain's bracelet and even gave me advice about Sign's depression. While she was lost in thought, Sign leaned close to her ear and asked, Layla, are we not getting the flowers? Sign's breath on her ear made Layla's face flush red. She replied with a start, Huh? Then quickly pulled away and said, Let's go pick them out together. Taylor was pouting beside them. What about me, miss? Layla replied, her face darkening. You go ahead and choose too. After the three of them finished shopping, they went to give Mary her presents. She was overjoyed to receive the flowers and the music box, and Mary's fever broke after that day, to the point she could even go for a walk. The worried look on Mary's face gradually disappeared, and everything was going very smoothly. As for Wynnum and the butler, those two had started to butt heads over that beautiful widow. On top of that, it was time to start uncovering the truth. Layla immediately went to find Wynnum and told him, Wynnum, you absolutely must not reveal the secret ledger, please. Wynnum replied calmly, I'm not crazy, don't you worry. She thought to herself, You really are crazy, you absolute madman. I thought he would understand after I explained it that far, but can someone in the final stages of lovesickness really get it with just a little advice? Seeing him like this, it was clear he wasn't going to stop, so she went to reason with him again. I know what I'm doing. What in the world is he talking about? Wynnum, don't tell me you're planning to reveal the secret ledger. Wynnum crossed his arms and replied, If it's necessary. Layla shot up and slammed her hand on the table. You can't be serious. If that gets out, do you think the butler is the only one who's going to be ruined?